You practice immortality. I cultivate the land. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 601, Multi-Armed Corpse Slave. With this thought in mind, he focused all his attention on the many spiritual plants in the cave. After the remaining 4 ice fireflies matured one after another, Xuan resisted the idea of harvesting them to gain cultivation, and followed the method of condensing seeds of water fireflies to slowly condense spiritual seeds in the ice fireflies. There were several slight bulges in the stems and leaves of the ice fireflies, and a large amount of plant essence condensed, with extremely vigorous vitality. Xuan checked the state of the spiritual plants again, and after confirming that the condensation process went smoothly, he entered the core spiritual field area of the cave. An excited phoenix cry sounded in his ears. I saw a pair of golden phoenix phantoms flash by and disappear into a piece of charred wood in the distance. In the middle of the wood, there were dark gold cracks, and the cracks were staggered, forming a pair of phoenixes. A ball of flame shaped like a red lotus burned on the charred wood, and a pair of small and exquisite phoenix phantoms swam happily inside. Their forms were lifelike, as if they could turn into real phoenixes and fly out at any time. The 6th grade phoenix tree, if it is still nurtured with red lotus flames at this stage, the maturity progress will be relatively slow. Xuan sighed secretly. This 6th grade phoenix tree has been obtained for no less than 20 years. At first, it was nurtured with the 3rd grade red lotus flames from the flaming fruit. After being transplanted to the incomplete secret realm, it was nurtured with the natural strange fire in the secret realm. After moving to the thunder fire star cave, it could only return to the previous cultivation method. I have to find a way to get 1 or 2 high level strange fires to nurture the 6th grade phoenix tree to maturity as soon as possible. Xuan thought secretly. The Vajra body spiritual plant next to it has already produced a golden body, and Buddha light emerges on the surface, giving people a sense of peace and tranquility. After absorbing the Buddha's power in the nearby demon subduing peg, a phantom of an angry Vajra appeared, holding a magic weapon, which seemed to be able to eliminate all demons and evil spirits in the world. There is only a small part of the Buddha power left in the 4th grade demon suppressing claw. We must prepare other Buddhist instruments and treasures in advance to ensure the smooth maturity of the Vajra body. This spiritual field is planted with high-level spiritual plants collected by Xuan. A few steps away, there is another 5th grade spiritual plant. If other spiritual plant masters see it, I don't know how jealous they will be. The 5th grade pure glass tea has also grown several light green and tender tea leaves. The tea leaves are lingering with a pure and spiritual aura, and they look like they are spotless and block the dust of the world. The 5th grade heart monkey fruit, as it gradually matures, becomes more and more strange. From a distance, it looks like an old ape squatting in the spiritual field, with a ball of pure plant aura in the heart area, covered by branches and leaves. The 4th grade 7 emotion bean has a 7-color bean on the plant. When each color flashes, Xuan feels the corresponding emotions in his heart. When it changes, it seems to be peeled off from the body and merged into the 7-color bean in front of him. This relatively rare 7 emotion bean is gradually entering the maturity period. It is estimated that it will mature within 1 or 2 years. Xuan has great expectations for this extremely rare and precious 4th grade 7 emotion bean. The 2 core spiritual fields are separated by the illusion 5 element array. On the other side, there is a completely different scene. As soon as he entered, in the gusts of cold wind, he saw a huge light red meatball shot over at a very fast speed and fell into Xuan's arms. Xuan's palm turned into a crystal jade color, resisting the attack of the meat spirit god's meat bomb, and casually lifted its seaweed-like blood-colored fur and saw a tightly closed little mouth at a glance. You guy, have you stolen the blood and flesh of the monsters that cultivate spiritual plants again? Xuan found some small blood and flesh residues on the little mouth. The meat spirit god turned around and shook his head. Are you bullying them because they can't talk? Xuan carried the meat spirit god to the dark mud meat spirit soil and let it take a good look at the sharp tooth marks left on it. He slapped it a few times took out a piece of monster flesh from the storage bag, and threw it to the flesh spirit god. As soon as the flesh appeared, it turned into a puff of blood mist in the air, merged into a thin stream of blood, and was sucked into the body of the flesh spirit god. Its round body shrank and expanded a few times, and then jumped in front of Lu Xuan. The appetite is getting bigger and bigger. Lu Xuan sighed, took out another large piece of monster flesh and blood, and fed it to the flesh spirit god. Fortunately, when he was in Black Star City before, he accumulated a lot of monster flesh and blood, and obtained a lot of 4th grade monster corpses from his fellow disciples by issuing tasks, so he didn't have to worry about not being able to satisfy the flesh spirit god and the evil spirit plants that feed on flesh and blood. Hey, the 1000 Kyung hand has matured quietly. When his mind was focused on the 18,000 Kyung hands linked together under his feet, Lu Xuan found that the translucent progress bar below the spirit plant had been fully filled. The spirit plant was like a dark blue arm, with knotted muscles and many more limbs than ordinary arms, which looked extremely weird. Lu Xuan carefully pulled out one of them, but he didn't expect that all 18 of them would come out of the spiritual soil at the same time. 1000 Kyung hand, a 3rd grade mutant spiritual plant, has the characteristics of living in groups. It likes to grow in a spiritual soil environment where a large number of monster limbs, claws, and monk's arms are piled up. It has a certain degree of aggressiveness, and can use the power of its companions around it to form a formation and work together to fight the enemy. After maturity, it can be used as an excellent material for practicing certain evil arts. 18 mutant 3rd grade spiritual plants, all of them are of ordinary quality. Lu Xuan shook his head, and his eyes were attracted by the 18 white light balls that quietly emerged from the dark mud meat. He flicked his palm lightly, and almost at the same time, he gently touched the surface of the 18 light balls. Suddenly, all the light balls exploded silently, turning into countless tiny light points, pouring into Lu Xuan's body. Harvest a 3rd grade mutant 1000 Kyung hand, and obtain a 5th grade evil creature multi-armed corpse slave. Harvest a 3rd grade mutant 1000 Kyung hand, and obtain a 5th grade evil creature multi-armed corpse slave. Second. Harvest. Thoughts flashed through his mind one after another. 18 eerie and strange things appeared in front of Lu Xuan. A part of the body was bloody, and it was impossible to tell which part it was. There were blue-black flesh buds floating on the edge, as if searching for something. Behind each mass of flesh and blood was an extremely long and strange blue-black limb, which was either pointing straight to the sky, or hanging down and swaying constantly, like the limbs of many monsters and cultivators put together. Lu Xuan's mind was focused on one of the masses of flesh and blood, and suddenly, relevant information about this evil thing appeared in his sea of consciousness. Multi-armed corpse slave, a 5th grade evil thing, collected a large number of high-level monsters and cultivators' arms and condensed them. They can be combined and integrated. After the mind is placed, the multi-armed corpse slave can be freely controlled and driven within a certain range. Each arm of the multi-armed corpse slave has a powerful destructive power and is varied. When integrated into one, the attack power is comparable to that of a giant and Zenran, a 5th grade evil object. Lu Xuan was delighted. He did not expect that the light balls awarded by the 18 3rd grade mutant 1000 Kyung hands could be combined into a rare 5th grade treasure. Chapter 602, Soul Stealing Blood Palm. For normal 3rd grade spiritual plants, there is a certain probability of obtaining 4th grade treasures in the light ball, and the probability of mutant spiritual plants is higher. Therefore, although Lu Xuan was quite happy that the rewards from the 18 mutant 3rd grade Kyung hand light balls could be combined into a 5th grade evil object, he was not very surprised. So, now you want me to combine the 18 parts of this multi-armed corpse slave together? He looked at the many strange arms floating in the air, his mind penetrated into them, and his spiritual consciousness was activated. When the flesh and blood approached each other, he found that the countless flesh buds on the edge suddenly became much more active, and they couldn't wait to pull the opposite flesh buds over and merge into one. In the end, the 18 parts of the body were pieced together into a short human-like figure, with 2 blue-black limbs against the ground, and the remaining 16 were flying freely in the air, covering the sky and the sun. Lu Xuan's mind moved, and the 2 limbs under the multi-armed corpse slave kicked hard, and it immediately turned into a residual image, and appeared in the distance. It's very fast. Although I don't know how it compares to a giant Zenran, it's much faster than a foundation building perfect cultivator. Lu Xuan secretly evaluated. The multi-armed corpse slave crawled around in the spiritual field very quickly. For a moment, it seemed that the entire spiritual field was filled with traces of this strange evil creature. Lu Xuan's spiritual consciousness controlled it to come in front of him, and a thought flashed through his mind. Suddenly, all the arms of the multi-armed corpse slave in front of him clenched fists and attacked the front frantically. Fist shadows swept across the sky, raising strong winds. Olaro laro 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 la. The mirage pearl quietly emerged from Lu Xuan's throat, and a most authentic and familiar voice appeared. He couldn't help laughing. After trying the multi-armed corpse slave a little, Lu Xuan controlled it to come to the corner of the spiritual field, and continued to check the many evil spiritual plants. As if it was an appointment, the blood spirit palm ginseng in the spiritual field that crawled around and wanted to suck blood was fully mature in less than 10 days. He looked at the vivid blood red palm beside his feet, stretched out his hand and gently pinched it. The texture was delicate, with the real touch of flesh and blood. The blood red veins on the palm were slightly raised, as if a large amount of dark red viscous liquid was about to gush out. He carefully picked it out of the spiritual soil and focused his mind on it. Blood spirit palm ginseng, a 4th grade spiritual plant, likes to eat the essence and blood of monsters and cultivators. It is shaped like a palm and has a certain ability to move. During its growth, it will actively move closer to the blood source and secretly absorb its essence and blood. After maturity, it can be used to assist in practicing the blood path exercises, or it can be taken directly to enhance its physical strength. It's actually of good quality. Lu Xuan was slightly surprised, and then he understood. When this 4th grade blood spirit palm ginseng was still in the rooting and budding stage, he used the essence and blood of at least the 3rd grade dragon in Qian Long Lake to cultivate it, and later it was nourished with the essence and blood of 4th grade monsters. It was not surprising that he could get this good quality blood spirit palm ginseng. For a good quality spiritual plant, the light ball reward will definitely be improved. I wonder what treasures can be opened? Lu Xuan looked at the quietly emerging white light ball with anticipation in his heart. He reached out and gently touched the surface of the light ball. Suddenly, the light ball bloomed like fireworks and shattered into countless tiny light spots. The light spots merged together to form a blood-colored palm afterimage, which instantly sank into Lu Xuan's body. In an instant, a thought flashed through his mind. Harvest a 4th grade blood spirit palm ginseng, and obtain a low-level blood path magical power. Soul-stealing blood palm. Low-level blood path magical power. Lu Xuan's mind moved, and a blood-colored ancient book appeared in front of him. There was a blood-colored palm print engraved in the ancient book. At first glance, a strong bloody smell came to his nose. If you look closely, you can see a huge blood-colored palm falling from the sky, or overwhelming, or turning a huge monster into a mummy, doing everything possible. He took a deep breath, closed the evil blood-colored ancient book in his hand, and concentrated his mind on it. Suddenly, information about this evil magical power appeared in his mind. Soul-stealing blood palm, a low-level evil magical power, can be understood by visualizing the blood-colored palm marks. Before practicing, you must collect the essence of 99 kinds of monsters, mix them together, and refine them into a special blood paste, which is wrapped on your hands. Because the magical power is evil, there is a risk of alienation if you practice it improperly. This magical power is extremely vicious. After practicing it successfully, you can easily pollute the other person's body with blood and ki, specializing in the 3 souls and 7 spirits, and it is hard to defend against. A low-level magical power was actually developed from a 4th grade spiritual plant. Lu Xuan was happy. This good quality 4th grade blood spirit palm ginseng gave him an unexpected surprise. Magical powers are extremely rare, even if they are only low level. Each one has mysterious abilities. When he was in Xianjian sect, he learned from the Sutra library that there were no less than 10 kinds of magical powers in the sect, but because he was only at the foundation building level, he was not qualified to practice. Unexpectedly, he harvested one from the light ball today. Sure enough, farming is omnipotent. Not only magical instruments, elixirs, and treasures, but even magical powers can be opened. Lu Xuan's already stable farming mentality deepened a bit. The only pity is that this is an evil magical power, and there is still a risk of alienation when practicing. The blood paste made from the essence of many monsters wrapped in my hands. If I practice rashly, my hands may show evil characteristics, which is inconsistent with my cautious spiritual plant master. He thought secretly in his heart. After hesitating again and again, he decided to put it in the gluttonous insect capsule for the time being. After all, there are so many 5th grade or even 6th grade spiritual plants in the spiritual field, and the appearance of magical power rewards is just the beginning. After harvesting 2 high-level treasures in succession, Lu Xuan was in a good mood, and he smiled when he looked at the ghosts and resentments wandering in the yard. He took out the soul guiding lamp and the soul death bell bought from the black market in Black Star City, and released ghosts from them. In a few breaths, the entire area of the netherworld spiritual field was filled with ghosts. There was a wailing sound around the Yinku wood, which had grown a large section. The sound was indescribably creepy, pulling the ghosts wandering nearby into the plant. After absorbing enough ghosts, the wailing sound became more and more long, as if it was ringing deep in Lu Xuan's heart. He casually took a pure and impure ghost, came to the burning soul flower beside, and gently placed it on the top of the spiritual plant. In an instant, a black spiritual power surged from the top of the burning soul flower. The spiritual power swept over, and the pure ghost was like snow under the clear sky, melting rapidly, turning into countless subtle and deep black lights, and merging into the burning soul flower plant. He took out some infant souls to meet the growth needs of the mother plant of the holy infant fruit and the 2 daughter plants in the spiritual field. There are also the 5 internal organs of the monster, which are provided to the 5 internal organs treasure plant in a certain way. As for the Yaoquan flower, it is enough to grow in such an ethereal environment, absorbing pure yin qi alone in the corner. We must think of a way to deal with this Shaoyuan fruit. It is not a good idea to keep it in the spiritual field. Lu Xuan thought to himself as he looked at the Shaoyuan fruit spirit seeds buried in the resentful spirit mud. I have a headache at night, and thinking about rewards makes it more painful. I ask for monthly tickets to encourage me. Chapter 603, Great Harvest of Sword Talismans. Lu Xuan was extremely satisfied after obtaining 2 5th grade evil treasures in succession. Before he could search for materials that could nourish the evil spirit fruit seeds, another batch of spiritual plants in the spiritual field was about to mature. It was the 3rd grade sword raising gourd that he had planted earlier. 20 gourd vines were linked together, and each vine had 4 to 6 mottled green gourds. The breeze blew, and the gourds hanging in the air swayed gently, causing the sword energy contained in the inside to surge endlessly, and the clanging of swords rose and fell continuously. Lu Xuan focused his mind on the sword raising gourds one by one, and found that the translucent progress bar below was almost full. 20 sword raising gourds, leave 5 for seeding, and pickle the rest. He had enough soul gathering grass beads in his hand, and the sword raising gourd was only of the 3rd grade, so it would all mature within 10 days or half a month. Lu Xuan did not save that little bit of King Mu Yuan Qi, and planned to ripen the sword raising gourd and enjoy the satisfaction of 10 or even more consecutive draws of light balls. The light green spiritual power emerged from his fingertips, and penetrated into the sword raising gourd. After a while, all the selected sword raising gourds were ripe. He carefully picked all the pale green gourds, a total of 75, most of which were of ordinary quality, and a few were of good quality. Lu Xuan took a quick look, and then focused his attention on the dozens of white light balls that emerged. The light balls flickered slightly, hanging on the vines and reflecting each other. Lu Xuan raised the corners of his mouth, and his figure flashed by, and he gently touched all the light balls at almost the same time. Dozens of light balls exploded silently, turning into tiny light spots all over the sky, condensing into faint talisman shadows, and sinking into Lu Xuan's body. Thoughts flashed through his mind like a horse-drawn show. Harvest a 3rd grade sword raising gourd, and obtain the 4th grade talisman Xingyan sword talisman. Harvest a 3rd grade sword raising gourd, and obtain the 4th grade talisman Great Sun sword talisman. Harvest. Talismans with various strange images appeared in front of Lu Xuan. The sword energy was like the surging waves, or like the scorching sun, or like the falling meteors. So many 4th grade sword talismans. Looking at the large area of sword talismans in front of him, Lu Xuan couldn't stop smiling. Each 4th grade sword talisman is extremely precious, even not inferior to some 4th grade magic tools, and he easily harvested dozens of them by planting a sword raising good once. The Roaring Sea sword talisman has the most, 21. The Great Sun sword talisman and the Falling Star sword talisman have the same number, both 19, and the least is the Dragon Elephant sword talisman, only 16. Lu Xuan counted the number of various sword talismans, adding the more than 50 pieces left before. There are more than 124th grade sword talismans in total. He did a simple calculation and never expected that he had accumulated so many 4th grade sword talismans without realizing it. I still don't know how much damage will be caused after all the sword talismans are fully activated. It just so happens that I'm a little short of money recently, so I can sell some of them and exchange them for more spirit stones to prepare for the auction later. Lu Xuan thought secretly in his heart. Then he activated 2 5th grade formations, told the grass puppet, left the Thunder Mars cave, and came to the Zigzing building area. He entered the Halao Chamber of Commerce branch with familiarity, and a maid who had completed key training came to greet him warmly. "Senior, if there is anything I need, please tell me. I want to sell some 4th grade talismans. You can't make the decision, so please ask your Wenlao master to come over." Lu Xuan explained his purpose to her. Not long after, a gentle female cultivator came out. "Dao Iao Lu, I haven't seen you for a while." Dao Iao is even more elegant. The female cultivator surnamed Wen said with a smile. "I wonder if you have refined new foundation building pills during this period. If you have, the Chamber of Commerce will take them all." Fellow Daoist Wen, my level of refining foundation building pills is very ordinary, and the success rate is less than 30%. How could I get a large number of foundation building pills in such a short time? Lu Xuan said self-deprecatingly. "To be honest, I came here this time to sell some 4th grade talismans. These talismans are all sword talismans, which should not be very common." 4th grade sword talismans? When the female cultivator surnamed Wen heard that Lu Xuan had no foundation building pills in stock, a trace of disappointment flashed in her eyes, but after seeing the sword talismans Lu Xuan took out, her eyes were full of brilliance again. There are thousands of talismans in the cultivation world. The most common ones are the 5-element spirit talismans, and there are also talismans such as exorcism, suppression, and prohibition. Sword talismans are relatively rare in the cultivation world because they are too difficult to draw. However, among the talismans of the same grade, the offensive power of sword talismans is one of the best, and they can often turn the situation around at critical moments, so they are quite popular among cultivators. She took the sword talisman from Lu Xuan and saw at a glance that the 2 talismans were unusual. On one talisman shaped like a sword tip, it seemed as if a meteor had passed through it, and the sword energy spanned the heaven and earth, burning itself, just for the sublimation of the moment it was released. On the other talisman, there seemed to be a phantom of a dragon hovering around the surface, looking down on everything, and inside it seemed as if there was a giant elephant standing in the void, standing upright, suppressing everything in the world. Such a rare 4th grade sword talisman. Are you willing to give it up? She asked Lu Xuan with some doubts. These sword talismans were made by an ancestor of the family. The ancestor once worshipped a great sword sect and studied talisman making for many years, and finally researched and explored these 2 sword talismans. The 2 sword talismans are the meteorite sword talisman and the dragon elephant sword talisman, which can stimulate all the sword energy in them at once, and can also be used continuously for many times. Lu Xuan briefly introduced, and once again attributed these rare treasures to the so-called family. Then why didn't fellow Daoist Lu keep it for self-defense? Lu Xuan sighed, and a hint of sadness could be heard in his sigh. "After my family declined, I became a casual cultivator. I don't have enough resources to support my cultivation. I can only sell the treasures given by the elders in my family to maintain my cultivation," he said in a very sincere tone. "I'm a small spiritual plant master. I don't have many opportunities to use this rare sword talisman on weekdays. It will just gather dust if it is left in the storage bag. It is better to use it to exchange for some spiritual stones and buy more spiritual seeds to quickly strengthen myself. I see. It is indeed not easy for casual cultivators to practice, but fellow Daoist Lu is proficient in spiritual plants and has a good alchemy skill. If you want to find a big force to rely on, I can introduce you to a giant and elder in the Chamber of Commerce. The gentle female cultivator nodded slightly, with a bit of understanding in her expression. At the end, she actually took the initiative to invite Lu Xuan to join the Halao Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for your kindness, Daoist Wen. I'm lazy and don't like restrictions. It is more suitable for me to be alone. Lu Xuan declined. No problem, Daoist Lu will choose everything. Although these sword talismans are confirmed to be 4th grade, their specific value still needs to be appraised by Daoist Mu from the Chamber of Commerce. Please forgive me and wait for a moment. The female cultivator smiled and said to Lu Xuan. Chapter 604, Evil Soldiers. Fellow Daoist Wen, I have a favor to ask of you. While the old man surnamed Mu from the Halao Chamber of Commerce who was appraising treasures had not come over yet, Lu Xuan spoke up. Fellow Daoist Lu, please speak. I have recently acquired a special technique that requires the collection of magical instruments or treasures that contain strong evil spirits. I wonder if your building has such things? Things that contain evil spirits. Those kinds of treasures usually come from cultivators who have committed countless killings. When they find that evil spirits are condensed on magical instruments, they usually choose to refine them as soon as possible to avoid affecting the quality of the magical instruments. Therefore, it is not easy to obtain a treasure that contains strong and pure evil spirits. This building does not have what fellow Daoist Lu needs. Only the main building has treasures that can meet your requirements. The female cultivator recalled and said softly. She suddenly remembered something and changed the subject. However, Daoist fellow Lu, don't be disappointed. Although there is nothing in this disciplinary building, it does not mean that the cultivators in the building do not have it. What do you mean? The senior brother Mu who will come later likes to collect all kinds of rare and precious treasures on weekdays. The more strange and bizarre, the more he likes it. Maybe there is something Daoist fellow needs. She swept her spiritual sense around the room and said to Lu Xuan. In addition, senior brother Mu is the grandson of a vice president of the Chamber of Commerce who has the cultivation of the nascent soul. He is very favored and has all kinds of rare treasures on him. If Daoist fellow Lu has any rare things in his hands, you can get to know senior brother Mu. The gentle female cultivator whispered. Thank you for your reminder. Lu Xuan bowed his hands to express his gratitude to her. After a while, a tall old man rushed in. The old man had a pair of red eyes, and there were pure white flames burning quietly in his pupils. If you look into his eyes, you will feel a slight strange feeling. A hazy spiritual power appeared on the surface of Lu Xuan's pupils. After he slightly activated the pupil technique to break illusions, the strangeness suddenly disappeared. Brother Mu, this is fellow Daoist Lu Xuan. He previously sold us a special magic weapon called Kingly Jade Lock. The gentle female cultivator quickly stood up and introduced Lu Xuan to the tall old man. Fellow Daoist Lu, I remember you. That jade lock is quite interesting. Hello, brother Mu. Lu Xuan greeted with a smile. Show me those 2 sword talismans. The tall old man couldn't wait to take the sword talismans from the female cultivator and observed them carefully. After a while, the pure white flames in the pupils burned more fiercely, almost occupying the entire eyeball, and a strand of spiritual power as thin as a hair wandered on the surface of the sword talisman. After this sword talisman is activated, a powerful sword energy will be released with increasing speed and power. Even a cultivator in the middle and late stages of foundation building has a good chance of being killed in one fell swoop. The tall old man pointed to the meteorite sword talisman. As for this one, it seems that they have taken a different approach, integrating a trace of dragon and elephant souls into the talisman, so that when the sword talisman is activated, it will release a huge sword energy. The sword energy has the power of dragons and elephants, and can easily destroy the body of a foundation building cultivator, as well as 3rd and 4th grade protective magic tools. The old man's eyes were extremely sharp and vicious. He could tell the approximate uses of the 2 sword talismans at a glance, which made Lu Xuan, who was standing beside him, show a look of approval. Dao Mu is well informed and has superb pupil skills. I admire him deeply. He flattered him lightly. Haha, Dao Lu has some good things on him. The 4th grade King Wei used a magic tool that appeared before, and now there are 2 rare 4th grade sword talismans, which made this old man with a not so small surname Mu curious and fond of Lu Xuan. Dao Wen, give an estimate. Lu Xuan turned to the gentle female cultivator next to him and said, fellow Daoist Lu, each of the falling star sword talisman is 8,500 low grade spirit stones, and each of the dragon elephant sword talisman is 8,200 spirit stones. What do you think? When one, a female cultivator, asked tentatively. Lu Xuan lowered his head and pondered. Although the sword talismans were precious, they were not as valuable as the same level magic tools. The previous King Wei Jade Lock could be sold for 10,000 low grade spirit stones, and now these 2 sword talismans can be sold for more than 8,000, which is already quite good. Okay, deal. Lu Xuan was satisfied and agreed readily. He took out 5 of each of the 2 sword talismans. 10 talismans were exchanged for more than 80,000, or 835 medium grade spirit stones. He scanned the mountain of medium grade spirit stones sent by the female cultivator with his spiritual consciousness, and put them all into the storage bag. 10 sword talismans can be exchanged for 835 medium grade spirit stones. If I sell all the remaining sword talismans on me, wow. Lu Xuan secretly sighed at his wealth. After the 2 men had paid for the goods, Lu Xuan saw the tall old man was about to leave, and hurriedly stopped him. Fellow Daoist Mu, please stay. The tall old man stopped, looking puzzled. What can I do for you, fellow Daoist Lu? This is it. Lu Xuan came to the tall old man with a smile on his face. I have been searching for a magical instrument or treasure that contains evil spirits, but I have been searching hard for nothing. I heard that fellow Daoist Mu has a collection of many strange and bizarre treasures, so I wanted to ask you if you have anything like evil spirits? A magical instrument that contains evil spirits. I do have one, but I have no intention of selling it to others. The tall old man said directly. Brother Mu, how about I exchange it with you for something equally rare? I have cultivated many strange spiritual plants, and with the rewards given by the elders in the clan before, I should have something that can catch Brother Mu's eye. Lu Xuan said confidently. Okay, I hope you won't let me down, fellow Daoist Lu. Come with me, the tall old man said cheerfully. The fact that Lu Xuan could take out the King Wei Jade Lock and 2 rare sword symbols made him feel a little more expectant. The 2 walked into a spacious house, one in front and one behind. What surprised Lu Xuan was that the house was very simply decorated, and there was no scene of various rare treasures as he imagined. Suddenly, he noticed something strange coming from his side, and turned his head to see a wooden building more than half a meter high standing. This wooden building is a bit strange. It seemed like it was observing me just now. He moved his eyes away without leaving a trace, and in his spiritual sense, the wooden building was slowly rising, revealing several slender wooden legs underneath, slowly approaching Lu Xuan. Fellow Daoist Lu, all my treasures are in this wooden building. It was made by one of my elders, based on the high-level magic weapon of the Heilao Chamber of Commerce headquarters. It is a special space-type puppet with a large space inside that can hold many treasures. In addition, the protection of the wooden building itself cannot be underestimated. Even a giant and Zenran can't get much good in front of it. The tall old man introduced it to Lu Xuan, and his words seemed to be not worried that Lu Xuan would have evil intentions. He came to the wooden building and shook it for a while. A bronze halberd gushed out with spiritual light. This halberd weapon is what I collected before. It is said to come from an ancient battlefield. The evil spirit inside is extremely strong and can easily corrode cultivators. Due to the special material and forging method, the halberd is still relatively intact. It contains extremely strong evil spirit. If you are not careful, your mind will be lost under the impact of the evil spirit. The tall old man introduced it to Lu Xuan. Chapter 605. There are 2 types of spiritual plant masters. Lu Xuan nodded slightly, his eyes completely attracted by the bronze halberd in front of him. The style of the halberd was extremely ancient, and it was obvious that it was very different from the magic tools of the time. There was yellow-green copper rust on the surface, and it looked very worn. From time to time, wisps of grey and red smoke floated out from the inside of the halberd. The grey gas was deadly, and the red gas was bloodthirsty. In the smoke, you could vaguely hear bursts of fighting, and the evil spirit soared to the sky and soon filled the whole room. The tall old man operated his spiritual power and bound the strong evil spirit emanating from the bronze halberd in an spiritual shield. "What do you think, Daoist Lu?" he asked Lu Xuan with a complacent look, with a hint of showing off. Daoist Mu really has a rich collection. He actually has such a magic tool with such a strong evil spirit. Lu Xuan's eyes showed a bit of envy. "To be honest, Daoist, I'm somewhat interested in this bronze halberd. Daoist Mu, please name a price," he said to the tall old man. "Dao Lu, you are wrong. How can such treasures be measured with spirit stones?" The tall old man sneered. "This halberd is only for exchange, and not for sale. If Dao Lu has a treasure that I'm interested in, I can consider exchanging it with you." "Then what do you think of the 4th grade sword talisman just now?" Lu Xuan asked tentatively. "Although the sword talisman is powerful in attack, it is not a rare treasure in my eyes." The tall old man shook his head and denied it. Lu Xuan pondered for a moment and took out a clear and transparent pill from the storage bag. The surface of the pill was surrounded by a faint and clear aura, which made people's mind and sea of consciousness clear. It was the 4th grade dust cleansing pill from the jade dew fruit spirit plant. After taking it, it can remove the turbid aura of foreign species in the body and greatly weaken the harmfulness of evil aura. It is an extremely rare pill. 4th grade dust cleansing pill? I didn't expect Dao Lu to have this kind of pill. A trace of surprise flashed in the eyes of the tall old man. I usually try to refine pills in addition to cultivating spiritual plants. I'm lucky enough to refine a furnace of extremely difficult dust purifying pills. Lu Xuan made up a random sentence. "What do you think, Brother Mu? Can you exchange it for the bronze halberd?" The tall old man smiled and said nothing. He sat in front of the wooden building and patted its bloated body. The wooden building shook slightly and a pill shot out from it. It was also a 4th grade dust purifying pill. "Although this kind of pill is rare, it is not too rare for me," the tall old man said with a smile. "For me, the treasures I already have are not worth collecting. This old Taoist is a bit arrogant." Lu Xuan complained in his heart, resisting the urge to take out various 5th grade treasures to throw at him. He thought about it and took out a yellowish spiritual bead from the storage bag. The spiritual bead was grey inside, as if it was swept by yellow sand. Holding it in his hand, he felt a sense of falling from his palm, as if it was about to merge with the ground. "Fellow Daoist Mu, what do you think of this spiritual bead? This is the first time I've seen it, but judging from the appearance of the spiritual bead, it should be a 5-element earth treasure." The pure white flame in the tall old man's red eyes burned quietly, staring at the earth bead in Lu Xuan's hand, guessing. "Yes, it is indeed an earth treasure. This thing is called the earth bead, a 4th grade treasure, with earth magic. The holder can freely shuttle between various spiritual mines and rocks at high speed without being restricted by terrain. The speed is much faster than ordinary earth escape magic, and it is not restricted by various special terrains. The only thing to note is that you can't stay in the spiritual mines and rocks for too long, otherwise there is a risk of your body gradually becoming petrified. For fellow Daoist Mu who likes to collect various rare treasures, this earth bead is the most suitable. With it, you can shuttle between various secret realms and find the treasure you like." Lu Xuan introduced the effects of the earth bead to the tall old man in detail. This earth bead was opened from the Earth Emperor Zhao Guan group. There are 2 in total, and he can keep one for himself. Earth walking bead. The tall old man looked at the yellow earth spirit bead with a bit of enthusiasm in his eyes. This was indeed the first time he had seen this earth walking bead. According to what Lu Xuan said, if it really had the ability to freely shuttle through various terrains, it would be quite suitable for him. He had kept the bronze halberd in the treasure house, which had little practical value. However, this earth walking bead was not only rare, but also could help him search for various rare treasures. It was clear which one was better. "Can this earth walking bead be exchanged for the evil spirit halberd of fellow Taoist?" Lu Xuan asked hurriedly. "Okay, then let's exchange each other." The tall old man agreed readily. Lu Xuan handed the earth walking bead to the other party and got the bronze halberd by the way. The evil spirit is so strong that it should be able to ensure that the evil Yuan fruit matures smoothly. I spent so much money to get this halberd. If it doesn't produce a good light ball reward when it matures, I will be sorry for it. He sighed in his heart. I'm quite surprised at how many treasures fellow Daoist Lu has. After they each obtained their desired treasures, the tall old man said to Lu Xuan. He did not expect that the spiritual plant master in front of him actually had so many rare treasures. The family I lived and practiced in the past was also a local force. After it declined, it was given a few good treasures. In addition, I worked hard to cultivate spiritual plants and accumulated some, so I have today's wealth. Lu Xuan said with a smile, not revealing any sign that these treasures were just the tip of the iceberg. By the way, I wonder if fellow Daoist Mu has collected any rare spiritual seeds. If so, can I see one or two? He suddenly had an idea and asked the tall old man. Of course there are spiritual seeds, and the grade is not low, 5th or 6th grade, but it is very strange. I guess that with fellow Daoist Lu's status as a spiritual plant master, it is very likely that you have never seen it. The tall old man raised his head slightly and said proudly, really? Lu Xuan was aroused by his words. The spirit seed was found by an elder in a cave. He couldn't recognize it even with his cultivation level. Later, he asked several famous spirit plant masters, but they couldn't recognize it either. The tall old man explained. There are two types of spirit plant masters, one is me, and the other is others. Other spirit plant masters can't recognize it, but it doesn't mean I can't recognize it either. Lu Xuan said confidently. His attitude seemed a bit arrogant in the eyes of the old man, which aroused his desire to win. Fellow Daoist Lu, how about we make a bet? If you can identify the origin, variety, and cultivation method of that strange spirit seed, I will meet one of your requests within my ability, or directly give you 10,000 low-grade spirit stones. If you can't recognize it, then you have to give me a rare treasure equivalent to the earth bead just now. How about it? I accept this bet. Lu Xuan was ecstatic, but his face looked uncertain. After thinking for a long time, he nodded in agreement. Chapter 606, Demonic View. Seeing that Lu Xuan agreed to the bet, the tall old man immediately took out a strange spiritual seed from the wooden building. The spiritual seed is an uneven ball, which seems to be woven from countless tiny skeletons that are as crystal-like as jade, giving people a sense of horror, and yet delicate and exquisite. Lu Xuan looked at it for a few more times, as if all his bones were attracted by the small ball of bones, and felt a slight loosening. This is the strange spiritual plant I collected. Fellow Daoist Lu can observe it carefully, but you can't stay near this spiritual seed for too long, otherwise it will cause your own bone marrow essence to slowly lose. The tall old man reminded him. Lu Xuan nodded gently, took the skeleton spiritual seed, and observed it carefully with his spiritual consciousness. How is it? Can fellow Daoist Lu see anything? After a while, the tall old man who was slowly enjoying the spiritual tea stood up and asked, I have a little clue, but I want to try to plant this spirit seed in the spirit soil to see if I can sense some more detailed information. I wonder if Brother Mu would mind? Lu Xuan asked. With his experience of reading various spirit plant books in the Xianji Insect Sutra library, he could not get a glimpse of this spirit seed. He could only rely on his special ability. No problem. As long as Brother Lu does not let this spirit seed be damaged, and does not leave this room, you can do whatever you want. The tall old man was confident of victory, and did not care about Lu Xuan's small request at all. Lu Xuan's mouth corners slightly raised, and he took out a small pile of Wu spirit soil from the storage bag. Then, he put the skeleton ball spirit seed into the spirit soil. His mind was focused on the skeleton ball in the shallow layer of the spirit soil, and suddenly, a piece of information emerged in his mind. The skeleton demon temple, a 6th grade spiritual plant, is a spiritual seed born from a 10,000-year-old skeleton demon of the secret demon sect. During its growth, it needs to absorb the essence of a large number of monks and monster bones, forming layers of skeleton forests, and finally building a complete skeleton demon temple. During the cultivation process, the spiritual plant will actively absorb the essence of the bones of nearby creatures, slowly eroding their body bones. Staying next to the spiritual plant for a long time will cause its own vitality to weaken, and its bones to become fragile and soften. After maturity, it can be refined into an evil magic weapon, or it can be practiced in the skeleton demon temple to speed up its cultivation. If you are willing to build me with bones one by one, then you and I will be indistinguishable from each other. 6th grade spiritual plant, and it is an evil and alien species. However, why is the growth method of this spiritual plant so strange? It actually absorbs the essence of bones to form layers of so-called skeleton forests. Xuan was secretly shocked, feeling that there are all kinds of spiritual plants in the world. He pretended to observe the spiritual seed for a while, and finally stood up thoughtfully. Lu, can you figure out what it is? I advise you to save your energy and give me a rare treasure directly. The tall old man on the side smiled more and more. Seeing Xuan thinking, he couldn't help but remind him. This spiritual seed could not be recognized by his Yuanying ancestors' cultivation and vision, let alone Xuan, who was only at the foundation building stage. Even though he had a very deep attainment in spiritual plants, this was completely beyond the scope of a spiritual plant master. Therefore, the old man had full confidence in himself. Don't be too happy. I have a little clue. Xuan didn't rush to tell the old man the information he had learned. Looking at the old man's complacent look, he secretly laughed in his heart. You actually challenge my profession with your hobby. Well, I'll teach you a little lesson. He thought to himself, and came to the old man. I have been observing for a long time, and suddenly I remembered that I saw an introduction to this spiritual seed in a certain book. Xuan took out the mysterious book as usual. This spiritual seed is called the skeleton demon seed, a 6th grade spiritual plant. It is said to be a unique spiritual plant of the secret demon sect, but I'm not sure about the specific cultivation method and efficacy. I wonder if I guessed it right. The tall old man heard this, and his originally happy expression instantly collapsed. To be honest with you, fellow Daoist Lu, I don't know the specific species of the spiritual seed. But when my ancestor rewarded me with this spiritual seed, he once said that it was seized from a late-stage Jinden Zenran of the secret demon sect. You know it came from the secret demon sect, so it is probably correct. Although he usually likes to show off his collection of various rare treasures, he is not petty and admits it openly. I'm willing to accept the bet. Fellow Daoist Lu, tell me, do you want spiritual stones, or do you want me to meet a request within my ability? If you want any rare treasures, you can also ask me. 4th grade and below are still no problem. Xuan pondered for a moment. 4th grade treasures, no matter how rare they are, seem a bit mediocre to him at the moment. Only the rarest spiritual seeds can arouse his interest. I don't need any treasures. I just want to ask you about a special spiritual law. He hesitated for a long time, and decided to ask the tall old man about the news of the Yuanxi spiritual mountain and the spiritual ore. The 6th grade Yuanxi spiritual wood has been obtained for quite a while, but there has been no special conditions that meet its growth needs. This tall old man has an extraordinary background, and likes to collect all kinds of treasures. Maybe he can get the location of the Yuanxi spiritual mountain from him. Special spiritual law? Lu, please tell me. Because of some special reasons for my cultivation method, I need an aura environment that contains Yuanxi spiritual power. I wonder if Mu has heard of it? Special environment with Yuanxi spiritual power. I seem to have some impression. Many years ago, I occasionally heard the elders of my clan mention that there is a Yuanxi spiritual mountain in a secret place, but there are many restrictions inside, which is very dangerous. The tall old man showed a thoughtful look on his face and said slowly, I don't know the exact location, but I remember it's not in Liang. I'll ask for you when I return to the Chamber of Commerce headquarters next time. He promised Xuan. Okay, thank you, Brother Mu. Xuan said gratefully. The growth environment of the Yuanxi spirit wood, which had been empty for a long time, finally had a clue, which made him feel relieved. Brother Mu, if we keep the skeleton demon temple spirit seed, it would be a bit of a waste of natural resources. Would you like to try to cultivate it? If we can harvest a rare finished spiritual plant, the collection value will be even higher. After learning about the Yuan-Si spirit stone from the tall old man, Lu Xuan turned his attention to the 6th grade skeleton demon temple spirit seed. There was no 6th grade evil spiritual plant in the underworld except for the mysterious fangbone demon seed, so he naturally didn't want to miss such an opportunity. Dao Ayaolu wants to. Yes, I have a similar temperament to you. I can't stand seeing those rare spiritual plants. If I come across one, I will try every means to cultivate it, Lu Xuan said with a smile. So, I'm willing to cultivate this skeleton demon temple for Dao Ayaolu, just to satisfy the curiosity in my heart and the sense of accomplishment after the spiritual plant matures. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 607, Thundersword Grass. Fellow Daoist Lu, are you sure you can cultivate this so-called skeleton demon temple spiritual plant? The tall old man asked doubtfully. You have to know that this is a 6th grade spiritual seed with a great origin, and Lu Xuan is only a late stage foundation building cultivator. Even if he has profound attainments in spiritual plants, he cannot make up for the huge gap between them. I can identify this spiritual seed, so I'm naturally confident that I can cultivate it, Lu Xuan said confidently. As long as I study and explore it carefully, I can't say for sure, but the possibility of cultivating it to maturity is very high. He didn't say too much. However, in the eyes of the old man, this was already extremely confident. It's not impossible to give this spiritual seed to fellow Daoist Lu to cultivate, but 2 conditions must be met. First, fellow Daoist Lu must make a heart demon oath and guarantee to cultivate the spiritual plant wholeheartedly. During the cultivation process, I have the right to know the status of the spiritual plant at any time. Also, the 6th grade spiritual seed is extremely precious to me. Fellow Daoist Lu must take out a 5th grade treasure and leave it with me as collateral. When the spiritual plant matures, the 5th grade treasure will naturally return to its original owner, and I will reward you separately. The old man pondered for a while and said, no problem. Lu Xuan quickly agreed, hesitated, and took out a dark arrowhead from the storage bag. There was a black gas lingering on the arrow, constantly changing, as if it had life. The arrowhead seemed to be nailed to a translucent human face. The face was blurred, and the facial features could not be seen clearly. This item is called the male-headed arrow, a 5th grade treasure, containing a trace of extremely powerful curse power. It is a family heirloom of my family. I was also excited to see the prey. I like this 6th grade spirit seed so much that I'm willing to mortgage it to you. Please also make a vow and return it to me when the time comes, Lu Xuan said half truthfully. The 2 made a vow to each other, and each took the other's treasure. The 6th grade evil spirit seed. I got it just like that. Lu Xuan was happy. There are already several 5th grade evil spirit plants in the underworld spirit field, and the 6th grade ones are rare. I don't know what kind of light ball reward will be opened at that time, he thought with expectation. Walking out of the Xiangxing cave branch of the Halao Chamber of Commerce, Lu Xuan was in high spirits. This time, the harvest was quite rich. Only 10 sword talismans were exchanged for a large number of spirit stones. 1 earth bead was exchanged for a top grade evil weapon from Mu Dao Ren. In addition, the news about the Yuan-Si spirit vein was also learned. The most surprising thing was to get the 6th grade evil spirit seed from the skeleton demon temple. I harvested so many sword raising goods some time ago. I sold a few to the Halao Chamber of Commerce, but I didn't make much spirit stones. Selling too many might arouse suspicion. After all, I'm just a casual cultivator. If too many treasures flow out of my body, it will cause some unnecessary trouble, Lu Xuan thought secretly as he walked on the spacious Bluestone Street. There is still some time before the auction. I have enough spirit stones on hand, so I'm not in a hurry to sell the 5th grade treasures. But there is a problem that must be solved. There are too many 2nd grade and 3rd grade treasures in my hand. Because water fireflies, flaming fruits, ice radish fruits, etc. are all planted in batches. The light ball rewards harvested are mostly 2nd grade and 3rd grade, most of which seem a bit tasteless to Lu Xuan. so he has accumulated a lot of them. Maybe I can open a small shop, find a relatively trusted cultivator, entrust him to manage it, sell some ordinary treasures, and collect some spiritual seeds for me. An idea emerged in Lu Xuan's mind. He needs to cultivate and care for the spiritual plants himself. If he leaves it to others, it will greatly affect the light group reward, so he can't spare time. With this idea, he wandered around various shops, learned the detailed prices of various treasures, and replenished some necessary cultivation materials. Back to the cave, Lu Xuan couldn't wait to come to the core spiritual field area. In the howling wind, he found a spiritual field in the air, and planted the small bone ball into the dark mud flesh spiritual soil. Threads of spiritual rain fell down, and seeped into the countless cracks of the entangled white bones. Fortunately, I hunted and bought many monsters before, and stored a large number of bones. There is no need to worry about the early growth of this skeleton demon temple. Lu Xuan smiled slightly, took out a piece of white skull from the gluttonous insect sack, and carefully placed it above the spiritual plants of the skeleton demon temple. In the perception of the spiritual consciousness, the small ball of bone seemed to sense the extremely delicious smell. Countless crystal small bones slowly wriggled, like a bunch of insects squeezed together, swarming towards the skull of the monster. A faint rustling sound came from the skull. After a while, various mottled marks appeared on the originally smooth skull, and the essence of the bones inside seemed to be sucked away by something. All the slender bones of the skeleton demon temple retreated one after another, and condensed into a small ball of bones again. It looks like it's full for the time being. Lu Xuan sensed the state of the spiritual plant and said softly. However, after all, it is a 6th grade evil spiritual plant. It is impossible to take root and sprout with just a piece of monster skull. There are still many days to come. He thought patiently. After initially cultivating a skeleton demon temple spiritual plant, Lu Xuan took out the bronze halberd and placed it near the evil fruit spirit seed. The long-starved evil spirit fruit sensed the strong evil spirit nearby, and a strong suction force came from inside the spirit seed, and the grey-red mixed evil spirit flowed into the spirit seed like a stream. After solving the problem of cultivating the evil spirit fruit, Lu Xuan was satisfied and returned to the yard. He entered a small house, and took out the Xuan sword sheath. The scabbard sensed the peacocking sword on his waist, and the crack at the top slightly widened, as if it was eager for the huge golden sword body to be inserted into it. The thickest and strongest peacocking sword is your favorite, right? Lu Xuan looked at the Xuan sword sheath, which was not satisfied with having many flying swords, and shook it. Suddenly, a sword grass spirit seed slipped out from it. Huh, there is a change? He exclaimed lightly, and immediately discovered the changes in this 2nd grade sword grass spirit seed. On the surface of the dry spirit seed that was as slender as a sword, faint silver white lightning patterns appeared, and the lightning patterns extended like antelope horns, without any trace, as if randomly intercepted lightning, and engraved on the spirit seed. He placed the sword grass spirit seed in this mysterious sword sheath, and injected the spirit thunder found in the Sea of Thunder, as well as the wind and thunder sword energy performed by the wind and thunder sword sutra. After a period of nurturing, it was finally successfully improved. He planted the sword grass spirit seed with silver white thunder patterns in the spirit soil, and focused his mind on it. Suddenly, a thought emerged from his mind. Unknown sword grass, a 3rd grade spirit plant. Put the sword grass spirit seed in the mysterious sword sheath, and improve it with spirit thunder and thunder sword energy. When cultivating, it needs to be nourished and stimulated with thunder and lightning sword light. The mature sword grass is a natural sword weapon, containing the power of thunder and lightning. Thunder sword grass, let's call you thunder sword grass. Lu Xuan thought about it, and named the new sword grass quality. Chapter 608, Light Splitting Sword Sutra. It's a pity that I have left Xianji insect, otherwise I would have submitted this newly acquired method of condensing the seeds of the 3rd grade sword grass, and that would have been another huge reward. Lu Xuan suddenly thought of this, and inexplicably missed the days of staying in Xianji insect to farm peacefully. However, thunder type sword grass should be a good development direction. If we can find various spiritual thunders and divine thunders in the Thunder Mars cave, and use them to nourish and stimulate the sword grass spirit seeds, we may be able to get a stable improvement route. He thought secretly in his heart. At present, he not only improves the swordgrass spirit seeds, but also tries to stimulate and improve all the spirit plants that have mastered the method of condensing seeds and have enough spirit seeds in his hands. For example, the 2 spirit fruits of ice and fire, the flaming fruit, the iced radish fruit, the sword raising gourd, that can produce various powerful sword symbols, and the hidden essence grass, have all begun, or are preparing to improve and stimulate the spirit seeds. He came to the core area of the spirit field, and took out a number of strange thunder beads, each with its own unique characteristics, to nourish and cultivate many thunder-type spirit plants such as the thunderstorm lotus, the crepe myrtle thunder fruit, the 5 thunder twin flowers, and the immortality vine. The 5 thunder twin flowers obtained from the ancient medicine garden have entered the rooting and sprouting stage. 5 colored 10 leaves have grown on the seedlings of the plants, attracting each other but repelling each other, in a very strange and bizarre state. As for the 7th grade immortality vine, even if it is constantly nourished with the 5 element wood attributed spiritual thunder, it is still a long way from taking root and sprouting. The speed at which this spiritual thunder is consumed is a bit scary. He sensed the few remaining thunder beads in the storage bag, and his face showed worry. It is joyful when you get the spiritual seeds, and it is satisfying when you harvest the light balls, but the cultivation process is not so happy. I have to go to the Sea of Thunder again, and try to find some spiritual thunder, especially the 5 element spiritual thunder, and the wood attributed spiritual thunder is better. He thought to himself, how can I get a large amount of spiritual thunder easily? Lu Xuan fell into deep thought. The Thunder Mars cave is not like the Xianji insect, where you can issue tasks and let other fellow disciples collect spiritual thunder on your behalf. Here, you can either search or buy it at a high price in the Star Picking Tower. He considered guarding the outside of the Thunder Sea and collecting goods from the monks who came out, but he finally gave up. There are so many passages in the Thunder Sea that he can't split himself up, and with so many people around, it's not easy to make large purchases. Maybe I can start with the Thunder Beasts in the Thunder Sea. The 2 thunder beasts guarding the passages inexplicably appeared in his mind, especially the one with a trace of the blood of the thunder beast. Wait a few days to go to the Thunder Sea, collect spiritual thunder, and by the way, visit the 2 thunder beasts who have no moral integrity. He decided secretly in his heart. Then he came to the area where water fireflies were planted. More than 250 water fireflies were already mature. Lu Xuan didn't rush to harvest the light balls, but gathered them together, wanting to experience the pleasure of 10 or 20 consecutive draws. He picked the blue and slender spiritual herbs from the spiritual field one by one, put them together, and put them in a huge jade box. The ground is full of light balls, let me pick them. Lu Xuan looked at the more than 100 white light balls floating on the spiritual soil, and the corners of his mouth rose slightly. His figure passed by, and almost at the same time, he gently touched the surface of all the light balls. In an instant, the whole spiritual field burst into a shower of light, and tiny light points poured down from the sky, forming a beautiful scene. Countless light points condensed into long and thin rivers of light, and instantly poured into Lu Xuan's body. Many thoughts appeared in his mind. Harvest a 2nd grade water firefly grass, and obtain a 2nd grade soul enriching pill recipe. Harvest a 2nd grade water firefly grass, and gain 1 year of cultivation. Harvest. One thought after another flashed through his mind, and various treasure rewards either floated in front of him, or poured into his mind, or appeared out of thin air in his limbs. Lu Xuan stood in place, running the great 5 element gong, trying to convert a large amount of spiritual power into spiritual liquid, and integrate it into the danshan. I have gained 54 years of cultivation rewards in one fell swoop, not bad. He felt the aura rising a lot in his body, and he was happy. More than 150 water fireflies, including 38 light balls, brought cultivation rewards, adding more than 50 years of cultivation to Lu Xuan. I'm one step closer to Danji. However, I probably won't improve my cultivation by harvesting water fireflies in the future. After harvesting one of the 3rd grade ice fireflies for 5 years, and cultivating for 10 years, Lu Xuan's ambition suddenly grew a lot. He decided to use all the remaining more than 100 water fireflies to condense seeds. except for a small number of the condensed spirit seeds. All the others were used to induce improvement and try to get as many ice firefly spirit seeds as possible. Then, through the cultivation rewards that were several times that of water fireflies, he promoted to Dunji as soon as possible. The remaining light ball rewards were mainly second grade soul enriching pills and soul enriching pill recipe experience packs. In addition, there were some other rewards such as third grade water dragon talismans and third grade treasure water beads. They were not very useful to Lu Xuan at the moment, but accumulated together, they could be exchanged for a large number of spirit stones. After harvesting more than half of the light balls, he came to the 4 ice fireflies that were condensing seeds next to him. 17 ice firefly spirit seeds. He looked at the spirit seeds in his hand that exuded an icy breath like cold jade and sighed. Although the ice firefly grass and water firefly grass condense seeds in the same way and come from the same source, there are still subtle differences. When Lu Xuan first condensed seeds, he was still not very skilled, and the spiritual seeds condensed were below average. However, with a slight adjustment, the next time, the yield will be normal. I will rely on you to break through the Dan formation in the future. He carefully collected the 17 ice firefly grass spiritual seeds, and then processed and stored them for a period of time before he could start to cultivate them. In the sword grass spiritual field area, he planted the improved new variety of thunder sword grass spiritual seeds, came to several high-level sword grasses, and displayed various exquisite sword energy and sword intent to nourish and stimulate them. For a while, the whistling sound of sword energy in the spiritual field was endless, and the sword energy was surging, and sword marks of varying depths appeared on the surface of the spiritual soil. The 4th grade Blue Lotus sword grass has entered the mature stage. Lu Xuan looked at the sword grass in front of him that looked like a blooming blue lotus, and his heart was happy. Then, he came to the 2 5th grade sword grasses. Casting the killing sword scripture, sword key full of killing aura shot out from his fingertips and sank into the white bone killing sword grass. Next to the split light escape sword grass, he closed his eyes, and the clear sword heart in his body suddenly lit up. In an instant, he had a very thorough understanding of the transparent invisible sword key wandering around the sword grass. The longer he comprehended, the more he realized the infinite mystery of the invisible and differentiated sword key. With a sense of enlightenment in his heart, he opened his eyes, and an invisible sword key shot out. In an instant, one split into 2, to split into 3, and more than 3, forming a stream of transparent sword key like water. The sword key was strange and unpredictable, and it set off ripples in the air that seemed to be there and disappeared in an instant. I finally comprehended the prototype of the sword technique for cultivating the split light escape sword grass. Let's call it the split light sword scripture. A smile appeared on Lu Xuan's face. After mastering this sword sutra, he can cultivate the split light escape sword grass step by step in the future, and improve and supplement the sword sutra by the way, making it a complete 5th grade sword technique. Combined with the previous white bone sword manual, I will gradually master 2 5th grade sword techniques, which will give me more support. Chapter 609. Look how hungry the child is. Lu Xuan never thought that the ordinary and mediocre little casual cultivator would become a sword genius one day. With the 5th grade treasure Tangming sword heart and the process of cultivating 2 5th grade sword grasses, he finally created these 2 5th grade sword techniques by relying on his special ability to study the sword intentions of the spiritual plants. Once they are perfected, the peacocking sword can also be considered to be able to stimulate its full potential. He touched the golden giant sword on his waist and continued to patrol the spiritual field. Before leaving the sect, the 4th grade spiritual plants such as the black insect vine, the earth fire heart lotus, and the 5-element fruit obtained from the cinnamon hall have entered the mature stage. Lu Xuan looked at the many spiritual plants growing well in various parts of the spiritual field and felt a subtle sense of accomplishment in his heart. I wonder if I can still open treasures such as the gluttonous insect capsule and the illusion of the 5-element formation in the time group. After taking good care of all the spiritual plants, he made a little preparation and decided to go to the Thunder Sea to collect more spiritual thunder and see if he could ask the Thunder Beast for a channel with a large amount of spiritual thunder. Before leaving, He opened the two 5th grade formations, the illusionary 5-element formation and the cloud bamboo arrow formation, and told the grass puppet with 4 arrow vines to guard the spiritual field well. Then, he drove the wind and thunder sword and rushed to the thunder sea at a high speed. When he came to the entrance of the thunder sea, he looked at the boundless sea of thunder in front of him, stopped, and took out the thunder and fire order. Just as he was about to check it for the Xianxing cave monk guarding the entrance, suddenly, a voice came from not far away. Dao Lu? What a coincidence, I met you here. There was a bit of surprise in the voice. Lu Xuan looked in the direction of the voice and saw a young monk with a simple and honest appearance walking towards him. Behind him, there were 3 other monks, all of whom had a cultivation level of no less than the late stage of foundation building. It turned out to be Dao Zhang. It's really a coincidence. A smile appeared on the corner of Lu Xuan's mouth. The simple and honest young man was named Zhang Zizeng, with a cultivation level of the late stage of foundation building. He was less than 100 miles away from his cave. The two had met several times before, and were considered nodding acquaintances. Dao Lu is also planning to enter the Thunder Sea to explore the secret realm. The honest young man introduced Lu Xuan to the other 3 cultivators and asked, "Why am I here and not entering the Thunder Sea?" Lu Xuan complained in his heart, but still kept a smile on his face. "I want to explore the Thunder Sea to see if I can find a few spiritual thunders, a few spiritual laws, etc. But I'm just a spiritual plant master with low strength, and I only plan to move around on the periphery, and I don't dare to go deep inside," he said very calmly. Then Dao Lu, "Are you willing to go deep into the Thunder Sea with me and the others?" The honest young man invited Lu Xuan. "One more person means more strength. We have had several experiences of exploring the Thunder Sea together, and we trust each other." Hearing this, Lu Xuan frowned slightly, pondered for a while, and finally refused. "Thank you Dao Zhang for your invitation, but I'm not good at fighting, and I only have a few means of life saving. If I rashly join the team of Dao, I'm afraid I will drag you down," he said truthfully. "Okay, fellow Daoist Zhang, since fellow Daoist Lu is unwilling, forget it." When Zhang Zizhen was about to continue to invite Lu Xuan, a handsome young monk with a gloomy temperament came out from behind him, glanced at Lu Xuan, and said, "In this case, I won't force fellow Daoist Lu." Seeing that the other 3 accomplices had a general attitude, the honest young man no longer insisted on inviting, and said to Lu Xuan with a fist, "Okay." Lu Xuan nodded. "I wish fellow Daoist Zhang and the other fellow Daoists to find the treasures they love in the depths of the Thunder Sea and return safely." He watched the 4 people enter the Thunder Sea passage. When the figures of the few people were about to disappear, he sent a thought to the cloud-stepping link hidden in the beast-taming card. "Are you saying that there is an evil aura among these people?" "Ah." The cloud-stepping lynx lazily landed on the ground, with a strange light flowing in its green eyes, and growled with a familiar meaning. Lu Xuan followed its guidance, and looked at the back of the cultivator with a gloomy temperament. A layer of hazy spiritual light emerged in his eyes. Under the breaking delusion pupil technique, he noticed the abnormality of the young monk. There was a layer of light black gas on the surface of his body. From time to time, blurry dark faces appeared in the black gas, crowded together, and seemed to merge into one. Before he could see clearly, several people took the lead in entering the Thunder Sea passage. It is indeed related to evil spirits. I don't know if there are evil spirits parasitizing or occupying his body, or if he has some evil treasures, or practices some evil and vicious skills. Lu Xuan thought secretly in his heart. However, all this has little to do with him. As long as he doesn't meet them in the Thunder Sea, it's fine as long as they don't have any ill will towards him. Once they want to harm him, the underworld spiritual field just needs a lot of high quality souls, flesh, and bones. It can be done without wasting a bit. As for Zhang Zizhen, who had met him several times, Lu Xuan didn't remind him. First, the relationship between the two is really ordinary, not much different from strangers, so there is no need to bother. Furthermore, they were in the same group, so maybe he had already known about the abnormality of the gloomy young man, or maybe he had contributed to it. Although he seemed to kindly invite him to explore the Sea of Thunder, Lu Xuan knew that this was just an appearance. After entering the secret realm, no matter how close the friendship was, in front of the treasure, they would most likely turn against each other on the spot and kill people to seize the treasure. Inviting him might not be out of good intentions. For the sake of caution, Xuan deliberately circled the edge of the Sea of Thunder, and after a while, he came to the entrance of the passage. After showing the thunder fire order to the monk of Xiangxing cave guarding the entrance of the passage, Xuan entered the Sea of Thunder with countless tiny lightning rays. Thunders kept exploding in his ears, but Xuan was not afraid. His throat moved slightly, and a sound that was exactly the same as thunder came out of his mouth. High above his head, the void nightmare eyes appeared and disappeared in the lightning rays, sharing the vision he observed with the bulging grey-white pupils in Xuan's hands. After a moment, he sensed a familiar breath in front of him, and the corners of his mouth could not help but rise. A few moments later, a silver-white wolf-shaped giant beast, accompanied by lightning, pounced on Xuan. It was the thunder beast that had been guarding near the passage and asking for monster meat from the passing monks. It whimpered, and its figure was as fast as lightning, and it pounced in front of Xuan in an instant. Its round belly pressed against the ground, and it looked at Xuan with a look of desire in its eyes. "Look at this kid, how hungry he is." Xuan smiled, took out a piece of monster meat from his storage bag, and threw it to the thunder beast. Every time he entered the thunder sea, once he encountered this thunder beast, out of the habit of a spiritual plant master, he would stop and feed this wild monster with monster meat or spiritual fruit. Occasionally, he would encounter the alien thunder beast with the blood of the thunder rhinoceros, and Xuan treated it with the same attitude. After many times, he established a certain friendship with the two thunder beasts. Chapter 610 Murray. The thunder beast, whose stomach was as big as a fat bird, swallowed the monster meat in a few bites. Seeing this, Xuan threw another large piece to it. There was not much else in his storage bag, but monster meat could be supplied in large quantities. The thunder beast glanced at him, took a big bite, and then passed the head to him. Don't want to eat anymore? Xuan focused his mind on the chubby thunder beast, and immediately noticed a thought in its heart. After eating so much meat, please be kind, and give us something to relieve the greasiness. Ha ha ha, you little guy is picking food. Xuan couldn't help laughing, and quickly took out the ice and fire spirit fruits from his storage bag. The thunder beast ate a flame-shaped flaming fruit, and then a thin layer of frost on the ice radish fruit, and ate it happily. Call your little friend over and try. I haven't seen him for a long time, and I miss him a little. Xuan sent a thought to the thunder beast. He paid extra attention to the alien Lixi beast with the blood of Lixi, but unfortunately, the Lixi beast was not as thick-skinned as this one, and did not guard the entrance of the passage. The Lixi beast in front of him understood Xuan's thoughts, raised his head and howled, and made a series of low roars like thunder. The sound spread far away, and disappeared silently in the thunder light. After a while, just when Xuan thought he could not see the alien Lixi beast, and was about to leave, a silver-white alien beast flashed out from the thunder light. Lightning appeared on the surface of its body, and its lines were beautiful and smooth, making it look extraordinary. Long time no see. Xuan greeted it warmly. He took out the monster meat and spiritual fruit from the storage bag, and threw it to the alien Lixi beast. It was not as close to Xuan as his companions. It sniffed the monster meat and spiritual fruit, and enjoyed them slowly from a certain distance. After eating everything, it looked at Xuan with a bit more friendliness in its eyes. There is no demon beast that can't be dealt with by spiritual fruits. If there is, it must be because there are not enough spiritual fruits. Xuan thought proudly in his heart. He slowly walked to the alien thunder beast, gently stroked its silver white fur, and felt a slight tingling sensation from the part where his palm touched. We have known each other for so long. We are now friends, right? He had a gentle expression, and sent a thought to the alien thunder beast. The silver white demon beast nodded gently to show his approval. Friends should help each other. For example, if you and your companions are hungry, I will give you demon beast meat and spiritual fruits to feed you. Now, I have encountered a little difficulty, which is nothing to you. Can you help my friend? The alien thunder beast's intelligence is obviously higher than that of the companion who is still immersed in the delicious spiritual fruit. A trace of thought flashed in his eyes. Don't worry, it's not difficult, and it won't be bad for you, Lu Xuan promised solemnly. Hearing this, the thunder beast lowered its head and looked at him, indicating that he should explain it clearly. It's like this. I need a lot of spiritual thunder to cultivate spiritual plants. But if I explore and search in the Sea of Thunder, the efficiency is too low, and the number of spiritual thunders found is limited. You have lived in the Sea of Thunder for so many years, you should be familiar with it. Can you take me to a place with a lot of spiritual thunder? It is best to have spiritual thunder of the 5 element of wood. In addition, don't go too deep into the Sea of Thunder. After all, my strength is limited. It may be dangerous if I go too deep. Lu Xuan tried to keep his tone soft and slowly said to the alien thunder beast. A trace of hesitation flashed in the eyes of the thunder beast. Oh, by the way, I brought some spiritual liquid for you this time. It tastes good and can also wash away the turbid breath in the body. You can try it. Seeing this, Lu Xuan knew that there was great hope. He hurriedly took out 2 balls of spiritual liquid. The spiritual liquid was flawless and transparent, mellow and pure. A clear and spiritual breath escaped, and the spirit was lifted. The 2 thunder beasts couldn't help swallowing their saliva. They have lived in the Sea of Thunder since they were young and have eaten too much monster meat. They have accumulated a lot of turbid aura in their bodies. They have an instinctive desire for this ball of jade cleansing spirit dew. You're welcome. This little gift between friends is what we should do, Lu Xuan said with a smile. Upon hearing this, the 2 thunder beasts sucked hard, and 2 balls of jade cleansing spirit dew entered their mouths respectively. They each took a deep breath and felt the clear spirit flowing through their bodies. Raw. The effect of the jade cleansing spirit dew was very obvious. The alien thunder beast roared at Lu Xuan, walked straight into the heavy thunder light, turned his head and looked, motioning Lu Xuan to follow. You have become my food captive again. Lu Xuan was proud in his heart and couldn't help but think of the white jade monkey and the phoenix bird that followed him to the foreign land. After more than half an hour, the alien thunder beast brought Lu Xuan to a stone pillar. Silver white lightning appeared on its body and shot into the stone pillar according to a special pattern. The stone pillar slowly moved, and a passage appeared that just allowed the thunder beast to pass through. I didn't expect there was such a mystery, which is somewhat similar to those mechanical devices. If it weren't for this alien thunder beast leading the way, it would be extremely difficult to find this place, let alone pass through these stone pillars. Lu Xuan thought secretly. Out of caution, his mind was focused on the body of the thunder beast in front of him. After confirming that it had no ill will towards him, he followed it into the passage. Inside was a small basin with a large number of dark green spiritual thunder swimming in the sky. Under the perception of spiritual consciousness, the dark green spiritual thunders had both destructive power and strong vitality, which was exactly the 5 element wood spiritual thunder that Lu Xuan needed. Judging from its aura, it was much stronger than the ordinary 5 element spiritual thunders he collected on weekdays. Fortunately, there is this guide. Lu Xuan couldn't help but sigh. At this moment, he realized more deeply the benefits of getting to know this alien thunder beast. The powerful spiritual thunder that ordinary cultivators might not find with all their efforts appeared in front of him like cabbage on the ground. He calmed down, and his sight was attracted by the thunder beast in front of him. He saw the thunder beast walking in the dark green lightning, and finally came to a huge jade. The jade looked extremely old and was engraved with strange patterns that Lu Xuan could not understand. It was not like the contemporary rune style. Thick dark green spiritual thunder fell down and landed in the jade. Then, it disappeared silently in the patterns of the jade. A drop of dark green thunder liquid seeped out from the pattern and ripped into the bottom of the jade. There was already a large amount of dark green thunder liquid at the bottom, about 1 foot deep. The thunder liquid seemed to contain rich vitality, but in fact it was pregnant with destructive power in peace. The alien thunder beast came to the jade, with silver white lightning flashes on its body, and lowered its head to swallow a few drops of dark green thunder liquid. Lu Xuan's eyes were straight. These dark green spiritual thunders were already extraordinary, and the rarity of the dark green thunder liquid condensed by the ancient jade was even more imaginable. Sure enough, behind every spiritual liquid that cultivators dream of, there is a strange beast that drinks it until it vomits. Lu Xuan looked at the alien thunder beast that was still swallowing the dark green thunder liquid and couldn't help but think in his heart. Chapter 611. There is a bright future. After drinking the dark green lightning liquid, the alien thunder beast closed its eyes, and strands of dark green lightning suddenly appeared on its body surface, and its silver white hair looked even more outstanding. The lightning jumped, as if it was tempering its body. Seeing this, Lu Xuan's heart became even more excited. This dark green lightning liquid looks quite unusual. It was condensed from that ancient jade artifact. It should be an enhanced version of dark green spiritual lightning. He thought to himself, and slowly came to the alien thunder beast. What are you eating? It looks delicious. Hearing this, the thunder beast raised its head and looked at Lu Xuan with a puzzled look. A monster is a monster. Stubborn. I have hinted at this, but you don't even want to give me some to taste? Lu Xuan was angry for a moment, but still had a friendly smile on his face. Can you let me taste it? The thunder beast understood it, nodded gently, and controlled a few drops of dark green lightning liquid to slowly float in front of Lu Xuan. Lu Xuan carefully took a drop of thunder liquid, and after his spiritual sense detected nothing unusual, he swallowed it into his stomach. It seemed that a slight electric current was flowing through his body, constantly tempering every tiny part of his tendons, veins, and muscles. He took a deep breath, and a wisp of light green breath shot out of his mouth like a sharp arrow, disappearing in the dark green thunder light in the distance. This dark green thunder liquid is indeed an extremely rare treasure. With my strong body, I can feel a slight improvement after taking it. Lu Xuan secretly sighed and took the remaining few drops of dark green thunder liquid. Seeing this, the alien thunder beast controlled a few more drops of dark green thunder liquid and sent them to him. Enough, enough, no need to be so polite. Lu Xuan said as he put the thunder liquid in a small white jade bottle and put it in the storage bag. Although he didn't know what this dark green thunder liquid was, according to his speculation, if it was used to cultivate thunder spiritual plants such as Xuan and Yimikingloiteng, the effect would definitely be very good. Not to mention that it can also be used to temper the body. As a friend, if I want to get some more of this thunder liquid in the future, will you bring me here again? He asked the thunder beast sincerely. After dealing with this monster several times, he already understood that it is better to say it directly, and it is not good to beat around the bush. Okay. The alien thunder beast passed a thought to him. Lu Xuan couldn't help but smile, and looked at the ancient jade reluctantly. If it weren't for maintaining the friendship with this alien thunder beast, and getting the dark green spirit thunder and the thunder liquid condensed in the jade for a long time, he would have taken it away with the jade. After getting a dozen drops of dark green thunder liquid, Lu Xuan flew to a low altitude and carefully collected the dark green spirit thunder. The spiritual consciousness pulled a strand of dark green spirit thunder at the edge to his side, and the spiritual power gently wrapped the spirit thunder, compressing it bit by bit. Spiritual thunder is extremely violent, and it will explode if you are not careful during the compression process. Fortunately, Lu Xuan's spiritual consciousness is strong, and he finally condensed it into a dark green thunder bead without any danger. He carefully put it away, and continued to condense new thunder beads. While he was working hard to pull and compress the dark green spiritual thunder, Lu Xuan suddenly noticed a strange sound coming from outside the basin. Turning his head, he saw a huge thunder beast appearing from behind the stone pillar. The moment it saw Lu Xuan, the thunder beast seemed extremely surprised and stood there in a daze, but it immediately reacted, roared, and silver white lightning flashed on its body. Just as it was about to launch a thunder attack, suddenly, a white light flashed, and the alien thunder beast slapped it far away with a slap, and it sank directly into the ground. Roar. The alien thunder beast had a fierce light in its eyes, and roared at the new thunder beast. I'm protecting you. Lu Xuan sensed such a thought from its slow roar. He couldn't help laughing, and quietly put away the Tai Thunder Talisman that had slipped down from his sleeve. It's worth it that I fed you so many spiritual fruits and spiritual juices. He looked at the alien thunder beast with a look of relief. Amid the thunder, the new thunder beast jumped out of the pit, looked at Lu Xuan with a vigilant expression, turned his head, and kept growling at the alien thunder beast, as if questioning it how a human cultivator could enter this place. The alien thunder beast snorted coldly, and a silver white lightning spurted out of its nose, directly repelling its companion. The thunder beast roared in extreme anger, but it could do nothing about the alien thunder beast, and finally had to leave in dismay. It seems that the alien thunder beast with a trace of thunder rhinocerosaur is far superior to the companion who tried to attack me in terms of status and strength. Seeing this, Xuan secretly sighed in his heart. Thank you, my good friend. After the aura of the thunder beast completely disappeared, he took out a pink and plump fairy peach from his storage bag and threw it to the alien thunder beast that helped him out. The thunder beast swallowed the fairy peach with the skin and core and slowly walked to the corner, savoring the deliciousness of the spiritual peach. Seeing this, Xuan continued to draw the dark green spiritual thunder and compressed it into thunder beads. Almost enough. This amount is enough for the thunder spiritual plants in the cave to use for 2 or 3 years. He scanned it with his spiritual sense and said in a low voice, although the many thunder spiritual plants in the cave are in great demand, this dark green spiritual thunder is equivalent to the effect of ordinary spiritual thunder several times. Plus there are a lot of them. It should be able to be used for about 2.5 years. Okay, thank you for bringing me here so that I can get so many spiritual thunders. Xuan reached out and touched the silver white hair of the alien thunder beast and said with a smile, that's all for today. I'll bring you and your friend some delicious food next time I come. There wasn't much else in the cave, but there were enough spiritual fruits and spiritual juices. He followed his previous experience, passed through the stone pillar restrictions, and entered the vast sea of thunder. The void nightmare eyes kept swimming in the sky. Xuan observed the grey-white pupils in his hand while shuttling through the lightning at high speed. There are cultivators ahead. From the vision shared by the void nightmare eyes, Xuan saw several cultivators in front of him dealing with 2 unknown thunder beasts. Judging from their appearance and aura, they were not people Xuan knew. He didn't want to get involved, and a hazy spiritual light appeared on his kingfree feather clothes. He restrained his aura and walked around the few people. When he came nearby and felt the fierce battle 100 feet away, Xuan once again felt how lucky he was to have met that alien thunder beast. If it weren't for the guides in the Sea of Thunder, the difficulty of searching for spiritual thunder would be several times more difficult than before, not to mention getting those rare thunder fluids. During the search, you may encounter thunder beasts or monks with bad intentions. How can you get the treasure you want so easily? He sighed in his heart. You guys are fighting hard to kill monsters and search for treasures in the Sea of Thunder, and I'm easily led by the local thunder beasts to enter the forbidden area and get the treasure. Everyone has a bright future. Chapter 612 Lazy. Xuan followed the original path and quickly rushed to the edge of the Thunder Sea. He had already obtained enough dark green spirit thunders and even got some extra rare thunder fluids. He had no intention of wasting time in the Thunder Sea and only wanted to return to the cave. As for the occasional situation of the Thunder Sea monks, he adhered to the principle of hiding if possible and tried not to make contact. As long as the monks did not take the initiative to deal with him, he was too lazy to put himself in possible danger for a few melons and 2 dates. While shuttling in the Thunder Sea, he suddenly noticed something strange. There was a sound similar to the surging of waves in his ears. Oh no, is this the rumored thunderstorm? When he just entered the Thunder Mars cave, he had heard that thunderstorms occasionally occurred in the Thunder Sea. Countless thunder swept like waves. If you encounter it, it is difficult to avoid it, and you can only rely on your physical body or magic tools and treasures to resist it. The sound of the surging waves became louder and louder. After a few breaths, a vast white light rushed towards him. The speed of the white light was too fast, and there was no way to retreat. Xuan wanted to use the earth bead in the secret book of Earth Yuan to dive into the rocks, but there was only a shallow layer of rocks in the Sea of Thunder, and in some places there was almost no rock. It seems that I can only bear it. I hope I'm lucky and can survive this wave. Xuan looked at the thunder and fire order in his hand, which was on the verge of breaking, and his mind was racing. With a thought, a yellow earth puppet appeared in front of him. The yellow earth puppet grew rapidly and enveloped Xuan. It was the 5th grade treasure Kuntu Linky from the Earth Emperor Xuan group. It was composed of 5 Kuntu puppet essences combined together and had a strong protective ability. With this 5th grade treasure, plus my own body, I should be able to resist the invasion of the thunderstorm, otherwise other foundation building cultivators will only end up dead if they encounter it. Since there are endless foundation building cultivators coming to the Sea of Thunder, it means that, although the thunderstorm is terrible, there is at least a glimmer of hope. Lu Xuan thought to himself. In an instant, countless lightning flashes poured down like waves, hitting Lu Xuan fiercely. His body immediately became charred, and under the powerful recovery effect of TSUI meat, it returned to normal in an instant. A layer of dark yellow spiritual light appeared on Kuntuling Kui, blocking the thunderstorm outside. Countless lightning flashes hit the dark yellow spiritual shield. At this moment, Lu Xuan was like a small boat in a storm, floating and sinking with the thunder waves, but temporarily safe. At this moment, a familiar low roar came from the thunder sea. The sound was like thunder exploding, and it sounded a bit anxious. Huh. That alien thunder beast. Why did it appear again? Lu Xuan showed a puzzled look on his face. Sensing the approach of the thunder beast, he withdrew the Kuntuling Kui. In the blink of an eye, the familiar figure of the thunder beast appeared in front of Lu Xuan. It saw that Lu Xuan was safe and sounded, and roared with a bit of joy in its voice. You said you wanted to take me out of this sea of thunderstorms? Lu Xuan heard its thoughts from its roar. The thunder beast nodded hurriedly, indicating that it was absolutely sure that it could escape from the thunderstorm in an instant. Then I'll leave it to you. Although he had enough confidence to survive this thunderstorm, he would naturally be more than happy to have a better way to save effort. The alien thunder beast roared, and endless silver white lightning appeared on its body. The lightning became stronger and stronger, and finally turned into a huge silver white lightning ball, which wrapped Lu Xuan, and flew away in an instant. What a fast thunder escape technique. Lu Xuan just had such a thought in his mind, and he found that he had come to a new world. Compared with the violent and restless sea of thunderstorms before, this place seemed calm, and there were many tadpole-like lightning balls swimming slowly in the air. On the ground, sensing a strange breath entering their territory, dozens of thunder beasts came out from everywhere. Looking at Lu Xuan, their eyes were full of vigilance. A low roar came from his mouth, one after another, and the threat could be clearly heard. The alien thunder beast rushed to the front of his own clan and growled anxiously. He was different from other cultivators. Lu Xuan heard this meaning from its roar. Under the constant comfort and explanation of the alien thunder beast, many thunder beasts of different sizes chose to believe Lu Xuan, and each of them looked at this unexpected visitor curiously. Hello everyone. Hello everyone. I'm new here, and a little spiritual fruit is not a respect. Lu Xuan took out a large number of ice and fire spiritual fruits from his storage bag, and sent them to the thunder beasts one by one. The thunder beast sniffed and confirmed that there was nothing unusual, then swallowed the spiritual fruit one after another. There are not many spiritual plants suitable for growing in the Sea of Thunder, so after eating the flaming fruit and ice radish fruit, many thunder beasts looked at Lu Xuan with a little more kindness. Where did the young cultivator come from? Just as Lu Xuan was deepening his relationship with many thunder beasts, suddenly, a huge sound like thunder sounded in his ears. His heart skipped a beat, and he looked in the direction of the sound, only to see a strange beast with a body as big as a small mountain walking towards him silently. The strange beast was like a green bull, with one horn and one foot, and its movements were accompanied by violent storms and roars like thunder. Junior Lu Xuan, meet the senior. The reason why I bother you is because I have some friendship with that thunder beast friend. It saw that I was trapped in the thunderstorm, so it took the initiative to help, and brought me here. Lu Xuan pointed at the strange beast. A strange beast that can speak, must be at least a 5th grade cultivation. If the strange beast in front of him is a rumored thunder rhinoceros, or a direct descendant of the thunder rhinoceros, it may not be a 7th grade. Little guy, you have hurt me badly. Lu Xuan sighed secretly in his heart. Originally, relying on his strong body and many treasures, he could survive the thunderstorm safely. But this alien thunder beast, which he had just met, realized that he was in danger, found him in the thunderstorm, and used a very consuming thunder escape technique to bring him into the territory of the thunder beast group. Then he encountered such a mysterious beast in front of him, which was at least 5th grade or even higher. Good intentions may lead to disasters. Although thinking so in his heart, Lu Xuan had no complaints. After all, it was extremely difficult for the alien thunder beast to take the risk and come to help him, and the current situation was also unexpected. Now I can only rely on the relationship with the thunder beast, with the blood of the thunder rhinoceros and the many treasures on my body to get through this difficult time. Just when he was thinking about it, the alien thunder beast happily ran to the one-legged blue bull beast, constantly whispering, as if acting like a spoiled child. Seeing this, Xuan felt much more at ease. So it's you, the little monk. I've heard this little fellow talk about you before. He said that you once fed it and its people a lot of delicious food. A guest is a guest. You should stay here for a while. The one-legged unicorn said slowly in a loud voice. Chapter 613 King Geololis's health problem. When Xuan heard the words of the strange beast, he felt relieved. As long as this mysterious strange beast with unknown strength had no ill will towards him, they could live in peace with each other, and he would not need to use all the treasures in his hand. He thought for a while, took out several bottles of jade washing spirit dew from the storage bag, and sent them to the tall blue beast with his spiritual power. Senior, this is a kind of spiritual wine that I brewed when I was free. It is called jade washing spirit dew. It tastes good and can also cleanse and remove the alien breath in the body. I give it to you to taste. You are thoughtful. The huge strange beast like a hill glanced at the jade washing spirit dew and said lightly. With its vision and experience, it naturally saw that there was no problem with the spiritual liquid at a glance. Then, it swallowed the jade washing spirit dew and the jade bottle into its stomach. It tastes good, it said to Xuan, stepped on the thunder with one foot, entered a thunder pool, and lay in it, like a hill rising. Soon, there was a rapid breathing sound, which really confirmed the four-word snoring like thunder. Every breath seemed like thunder exploding, and it could be heard for who knows how many miles away. All the thunder beasts around had long been accustomed to it, and were playing and fighting among themselves. A thin layer of spiritual energy covered Xuan's eardrums, and it took a while for him to slowly adapt. He looked at the mysterious beast that had entered a dormant state not far away, and he couldn't suppress his curiosity, and his mind was focused on its body. In an instant, a thought emerged from his mind, and he immediately learned the details about this beast. The greenhorned thunder sea, a 7th grade demon beast, is the direct bloodline of the ancient beast Thunder Sea, and is born with the control of various powerful thunder magic. With a lifespan of more than 10,000 years, it has entered the stage of decline, and thunder death crystals are gradually condensed on its body. Thunder death crystal, a special substance formed by the lightning energy in the body of the greenhorned thunder sea that escapes and condenses with its aging body. It is integrated with its body and is extremely difficult to clean. It can be used to assist in practicing thunder magic and refining magic tools. 7th grade demon beast. Xuan was shocked. The strength of the green giant beast in front of him was even more terrifying than he had imagined. At first, he thought it was only a 5th grade or 6th grade demon beast, and he was full of confidence in himself. If he fought with it, if the alien beast was 5th grade, he could kill it directly with the treasures on his body. If it was 6th grade, he would not be able to defeat it, but he would have a good chance of escaping. As for the 7th grade, it meant that, if this greenhorned thunder sea wanted to harm him, he would die, if he fought head on. Fortunately, I have the introduction of that alien thunder beast, and this 7th grade greenhorned thunder sea is not a fierce demon beast. Xuan thought secretly in his heart. However, from the information, I learned that this greenhorned thunder rhinoceros has lived for more than 10,000 years, and its life is gradually entering the stage of decline. A 7th grade demon beast is not omnipotent. When its lifespan is coming to an end, it can only watch itself slowly approach the end of its life. Xuan couldn't help but think. The 7th grade beast in front of him reminded him that the road ahead is long and difficult, and he still has a long way to go before he can form a pill, so he must not slack off. As for the thunder death crystal, Xuan looked at the dormant greenhorned thunder rhinoceros, and a layer of hazy spiritual light appeared in his eyes. He used the delusion breaking pupil technique to find pieces of special substances on its body. Did your elders teach you to stare at a 7th grade demon beast like this? A voice like thunder rang out in Xuan's sea of consciousness. Please forgive me, senior, he said hurriedly with a sudden shock in his heart. It's just that I have been dealing with spiritual plants and spiritual beasts for many years, and I have studied many ancient spiritual beast books. I can vaguely see that something is wrong with you. I hope you don't mind if I'm being rude. Oh, you can actually see the thunder death crystal on me? King Jiaolac's tone was a little surprised. He stood up and stared at Lu Xuan with his huge eyes. So it's called thunder death crystal. I can only see a little clue, but I don't understand one thing. With your strength, it should be easy to clean them up. Why did you let them grow freely and grow stronger? Seeing that King Jiaolac was not angry at all, Lu Xuan asked curiously with courage. Those things are originally the condensation of the demonic power in my body and they are integrated with my body, so it is not that easy to clean them up. Of course, more importantly, they don't have much impact on my daily actions and strength. I'm too lazy to clean them up. When I sit and die, I can use them as a grave. King Jiaolac said in a calm tone. In my opinion, it is better to clean those things up. Although they are integrated with your body, in a sense, they are a special substance excreted. If they stay on your body, they will have some impact. Besides, with your strength, if you really sit and die, those things may attract some people with ulterior motives, and it is not surprising that they will do something. Lu Xuan pondered for a while and suggested, what you said makes some sense. Why don't you help me clean them up? King Jiaolac said casually. Then forgive me for being rude. Lu Xuan gritted his teeth and flew in front of King Jiaolac's body that was as big as a hill. At this moment, he was extremely nervous. After all, he was facing a 7th grade demon beast. Even if his body was strong, he could easily kill it with a slap, and at most he would only have a complete corpse. Even if it had entered the decay stage, it was not something he could defeat at the moment. It's okay. Even if you are a 7th grade demon beast, you still have to let me remove the impurities obediently. He comforted himself in his heart. Soon, he adjusted his mentality and concentrated on searching for the thunder death crystal hidden in the body of the greenhorn thunder sea. The green skin of the greenhorn thunder sea was as hard as rock. There was no difference between those thunder death crystals and muscles and bones, but the aura was slightly different. Lu Xuan used the delusion breaking pupil technique to carefully search the hills. I found one. He was delighted, and his palm turned into a crystal jade color, like a sharp blade, and carefully scraped off the green thunder death crystal. After scraping off the thick layer, there were still thin pieces of thunder death crystal that had merged with the flesh and blood. He carefully observed them with his spiritual sense until they were all cleaned up. After successfully cleaning off the first piece of thunder death crystal, Lu Xuan felt relieved and felt much more relaxed. He continued to search for the thunder death crystal that had merged with the flesh and blood on the body of the greenhorn thunder sea and continued to scrape off layer after layer. This cleaning work seems simple, but it is as difficult as ascending to heaven for ordinary cultivators. First, you need to have extremely strong eyesight to find the thunder death crystal that has merged with the greenhorn thunder sea. Then, you need to have a strong spiritual sense to clearly distinguish the boundary between the thunder death crystal and the flesh and blood. Finally, you must have a strong body, otherwise it will be difficult to peel off the thunder death crystal. If you use sharp magic tools or treasures, the control will not be so delicate, and it may hurt the greenhorn thunder sea. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 614. I can tell at a glance that you are not human. As more and more thunder death crystals were discovered and cleaned, Lu Xuan gradually immersed himself in the work and carried out the cleaning work with great concentration. At this moment, he felt that the scene in front of him was somewhat similar to the video of cleaning barnacles on whales that he had seen in his previous life. There was a huge gap in size and strength between the two sides, and the weaker side was easier to clean. This gave him a strange and absurd sense of accomplishment. After nearly 2 hours, hundreds of kilograms of thunder death crystals scraped off had piled up on the ground. Lu Xuan carefully searched twice again, and after confirming that there was nothing abnormal on the body of the greenhorn thunder sea, he slowly descended from the air with a satisfied, but somewhat tired look. "Thank you, little friend, for cleaning these impurities on my body for me," the greenhorn thunder sea said to Lu Xuan in a muffled voice, and his voice was like thunder. Due to the special nature of these thunder death crystals growing on the body, it usually regards them as part of the body, and it is extremely troublesome to clean them, so it is allowed to grow freely. Unexpectedly, after encountering this little foundation building cultivator today, the problem that came with it was solved so easily. "You are welcome, senior. It is my honor to serve you." Lu Xuan lowered his head and said, "Take all the thunder death crystals on the ground. It should be used to assist in practicing the exercises, or as materials for refining magic tools." King Xiao Lacey said in a deep voice. "How can I have the nerve to take so many rare treasures?" Lu Xuan said shyly. "Just as a reward for helping me clean them up this time. Anyway, to me, they are just some dead skins, useless. Then I won't be polite." Lu Xuan pretended to hesitate for a while, and expressed his deep gratitude to King Xiao Lacey. He put all the thunder death crystals into the storage bag, even the ones as small as the tip of a finger. "I can't leave any garbage for you and the thunder beast," he thought secretly in his heart, and walked around the thunder pond until he picked up all the thunder death crystals. According to his speculation, these thunder death crystals can not only assist in the cultivation of thunder magic and the refining of magic tools, but also perhaps be used as special spiritual soil to accelerate the growth of those thunder spiritual plants. After picking up the thunder death crystals, Lu Xuan hesitated for a moment, and finally did not take out the longevity peaches in the gluttonous insect capsule. After feeding the greenhorn thunder sea with the jade washing spirit dew, he realized that it had little life left, and was on its deathbed, so the special thunder death crystals condensed on its body. But if he rashly took out the longevity peaches, it would probably arouse the suspicion of the greenhorn thunder sea. After all, it was understandable that Lu Xuan could see the thunder death crystals on its body. As long as he had extraordinary pupil skills, he might be able to detect it. But if he knew that the greenhorn thunder sea had little life left, it would be difficult to explain, and good intentions might lead to bad deeds. Moreover, the two had only met once, and Lu Xuan could not guarantee whether the greenhorn thunder sea would turn hostile on the spot after seeing the longevity peach that could increase its lifespan. To be cautious, he decided to keep the peaches first, and wait until the time was right and he became stronger. Then he would see whether to take them out to the old greenhorn thunder rhinoceros. He stayed in the territory of the thunder beast for a long time, and estimated that the thunderstorm had subsided, so he walked up to the greenhorn thunder rhinoceros and saluted respectfully. "Senior, I have to say goodbye and return to the cave. Thank you, Senior, and your tribe for temporarily taking me in, so that I can survive the thunderstorm intact. Go, and come and play again next time you have a chance. You little guy is not like most of your kind, who only think about killing and stealing treasures. It seems that there are only two outcomes to getting along with monsters, either killing monsters, or being killed by monsters," the greenhorn thunder rhinoceros said with some emotion. In its long life as a monster, it has seen many human cultivators like Lu Xuan, who either fled directly after seeing it, or were so bold that they tried to kill it and obtain its body. Lu Xuan is the only one it has encountered. Therefore, it has a lot of good feelings towards Lu Xuan. "Senior, you are too kind. With my strength, how dare I have any idea of attacking you?" Lu Xuan chuckled and said. "Ha ha ha." Hearing this, the greenhorn thunder sea couldn't help but laugh loudly. His laughter was like thunder. "If you want to come here next time, you can find the kid who brought you in. Then help me clean up that damn thunder death crystal." Junior obeys. Lu Xuan quickly expressed his attitude. If he could take this opportunity to hold the fire the 7th grade demon beast, he would naturally be more than happy. He said goodbye to the green horn thunder sea and let the alien thunder beast that had been fed several times take him out. "Okay, that's enough. Let's say goodbye. Next time you come, I will bring you more and more delicious spiritual fruits and spiritual juices." After getting closer to the outer edge of the thunder sea, Lu Xuan said to the alien thunder beast that brought him out, The thunder beast roared and watched Lu Xuan go away with a bit of attachment in his voice. Lu Xuan walked in the sky full of tiny lightning, and his spiritual consciousness carefully observed everything around him. After the thunderstorm, the sea of lightning was in a mess, and only the lightning remained. After walking in the lightning for a while, his spiritual consciousness suddenly detected a familiar breath. Before he could confirm it clearly, he saw a young monk with a simple and honest appearance rushing towards him. It was his neighbor Zhang Zizhen who invited him to explore the secret realm together at the entrance of the Sea of Lightning. But he was alone at the moment, and the 3 monks who were with him before were nowhere to be seen. Friend Lu, what a coincidence. I actually ran into you here. Zhang Zizhen's expression was full of surprise. Friend Zhang. Lu Xuan took a few steps back without leaving a trace. Why are you alone? Where are the 3 Taoist friends? After we explored the secret realm, we encountered the terrifying thunderstorm on the way back and forth. We were dispersed by countless thunders. Finally, it calmed down. I was the only one around, and I couldn't find the other 3 Taoist friends for a while. However, with the cultivation of the 3 Taoist friends, it should be no problem to protect yourself. The honest young man smiled. As long as you are safe. Lu Xuan nodded slowly. Dao Yao Lu, our caves are not far apart. Why don't we go back together, so that we can take care of each other on the way? Zhang Zizhen suggested. Okay, let's do as you say. Lu Xuan nodded gently. The 2 of them walked in front and behind, paying attention to the surrounding situation, and rushed to the entrance of the Lihei Pass together. The young man walked behind Lu Xuan, and a wisp of light black smoke leaked out of the back of his head unconsciously. There were many vague and dark faces in the black smoke. The spiritual light of the long sword in his hand became stronger and stronger, just as he was about to stab Lu Xuan's back. Suddenly, a silver-white light appeared in his eyes, and a spike with countless mysterious runes painted on it sank into his mind at lightning speed. His soul felt a sharp pain, as if it was being cut into 2 parts. Before he could react, a golden broadsword blade with a peacock shadow passed through his neck, and a big head soared into the sky. Many blurry faces flew all over the sky. Bold evil spirit, I can tell at a glance that you are not a human. Lu Xuan turned around and roared. Then, a crystal clear jade scroll shot out, and a large amount of pure white spiritual power emerged on the surface. The spiritual power has a holy power. When the blurry black face flying in the air was touched, it melted rapidly like snow under the scorching sun. Soon, there was only a head rolling on the ground and a headless corpse that stopped in place and kept attacking. Chapter 615 Dark Tide. After confirming that Zhang Zizhen was dead, Lu Xuan came to his corpse with an expressionless face. As early as the moment he met Zhang Zizhen, the Cloud Lynx found that he had a strong evil aura. The cautious Lu Xuan naturally raised his vigilance to the highest level. As soon as he noticed the abnormality of Zhang Zizhen, he took the initiative and killed him completely with thundering means at the first time. Go and see if there are any of his accomplices nearby. High in the sky, under the control of Lu Xuan's spiritual consciousness, the Void Nightmare Eyes shuttled quickly, with Lu Xuan as the center, and checked once, but did not find the other 3 monks and other monks. Why are there so many monks who just want to rob others and get something for nothing? Do spiritual plant masters look like they are easily bullied? After confirming that there was no abnormality, Lu Xuan sighed in his heart and came to the headless corpse. Huh? Where is the storage bag? A trace of surprise appeared on his face. After a careful search, he did not find the storage bag on Zhang Zizhen. Something is wrong. Lu Xuan pondered. Normal cultivators may not carry precious treasures with them, but they will definitely have at least one storage bag on them, otherwise it will be inconvenient to go out and explore the secret realm. There is no storage bag on the corpse, so there are only 2 possibilities. One is that Zhang Zizhen has a very high-grade space treasure, which Lu Xuan's spiritual sense cannot detect. The second is that the storage bag on his body has been taken away by someone. Considering that Zhang Zizhen is just an ordinary cultivator, this possibility is greater. Lu Xuan thought in his mind, and the young man with evil aura that he met at the entrance of the passage at the beginning appeared in his mind. Thinking of the abnormality on Zhang Zizhen's body before he attacked him, it is estimated that it is probably related to the young cultivator. Fortunately, the corpse is not bad. He thought optimistically. The flesh and bones of the late Foundation cultivators can be regarded as extremely high quality fertilizers for those evil spiritual plants in the spiritual fields of the underworld. He sealed the 2 parts of his body with talismans, put them into the gluttonous insect sac, and rushed to the entrance of the passage at the fastest speed. After returning to the cave smoothly, Xuan checked the formation outside the cave, and after confirming that there were no abnormal signs, he entered it with confidence. This time, Lei He and his group got a lot of good things unexpectedly thanks to the alien thunder beast that they had raised. Xuan returned to the house and counted the gains from this outing. Some ordinary spiritual thunders, dozens of special thunder beads condensed from dark green spiritual thunders, more than 10 drops of dark green thunder liquid, and hundreds of kilograms of thunder death crystals scraped from the body of a 7th grade green-horned thunder rhinoceros. More importantly, he gained the trust of the 7th grade green-horned thunder rhinoceros, which was the greatest intangible wealth. Thinking in his heart, he came to the spiritual field of the cave, and took out a dark green thunder bead from the storage bag. The spiritual power penetrated into it, and the thunder bead gradually disintegrated, and turned into a ball of dark green thunder gas, which was controlled by Xuan to penetrate into the immortal spiritual seed. Concentrating his mind on the spiritual seed, he could find that the ball of green light became much more active under the nourishment of the dark green thunder gas, revealing a strong vitality. The effect is good, much stronger than the ordinary wood spirit thunder. Seeing this, Xuan was overjoyed. With these dark green spirit thunders, the 7th grade immortal vine will take root and sprout in no time. Add those dark green thunder liquids with stronger effects, at least there is no need to worry about problems in the early and middle stages of the growth of the spirit plants. He thought to himself, and took out a large amount of thunder death crystals that he had pulled from the green-horned thunder rhinoceros. He deliberately selected some smaller ones, and his palms turned into crystal jade color, and directly rubbed the thunder death crystals into light green sand and gravel. Then, he evenly sprinkled them on the spirit fields, where the thunder spirit plants were planted, and performed the earth drawing technique, to merge the light green sand and gravel with the spirit soil. After integrating the thunder death crystal sand and gravel, Xuan could sense the satisfaction conveyed by the thunder spirit plants such as the thunderstorm lotus and the crepe myrtle thunder fruit. Feeling the vitality of the spirit plants, the corners of his mouth rose, and his heart was also satisfied. After returning from the Sea of Thunder, Xuan immediately resumed his usual farming rhythm. Every day, he would walk around the spiritual field, perform basic cultivation techniques such as the spirit rain technique and the wood growth technique over and over again, and observe the growth status of all the spiritual plants. Once he found any subtle needs, he would try his best to meet them to ensure that the spiritual plants could grow in the best state. In addition, he raised and teased the many spiritual beasts in the cave, practiced the Shenyanjing and Po Wang Tong technique and other techniques, perfected 2 5th grade sword techniques, and refined some pills to earn spiritual stones. More than a month passed quickly. On this day, when he was patrolling the spiritual field, a familiar voice suddenly came from outside the cave. Dao Lu, are you in the cave? The voice was solemn, and it was Lei Zeng, who had already had a lot of dealings with him. Xuan hurriedly went out to greet him. Dao Lei, I haven't seen you for a long time. How are you doing recently? He opened the formation and greeted Lei Zeng enthusiastically. Not bad. Lei Zeng squeezed a smile on his serious face. I passed by Dao's cave for something, so I wanted to come and visit. The two entered the small courtyard. Xuan brought over the spiritual fruit and tea, sat down and chatted with Lei Zeng. It seems that there are more and more spiritual plants in Dao Lu's cave. Lei Zeng looked at the spiritual plants hidden in the thick white fog and sighed. As a spiritual plant master, I can't help seeing the spiritual plants I like. After settling down in Liho Star Cave, I searched for some spiritual seeds everywhere. Xuan replied with a smile. How is the protective formation outside Dao's cave? Lei Zeng suddenly asked. Not bad. After all, these spiritual plants are almost all my assets, so I pay special attention to this. The formation should be able to block some villains, and I'm not afraid that monsters and insects will break into the spiritual field and harm my spiritual plants. Lu Xuan said vaguely, and did not say that the two protective formations were both 5th grade, even if a few early giant and cultivators could not break the formations in a short time. Previously, he trusted Lei Zeng quite a lot during the trip to Lihei Medicine Garden, but he was far from revealing the two 5th grade formations to him. Why is Dao Lei asking this? Lu Xuan asked curiously. Dao Lu has been staying in the cave and cultivating spiritual plants. He may not know that several abnormal events have occurred in Lihuohuo Cave recently. There are evil spirits or evil cultivators who have invaded the caves of independent cultivators and killed the cultivators inside in an extremely cruel way. It is said that the death was extremely tragic. The soul was taken away and disappeared, and only some fragments of the body remained. It is indeed very tragic. Upon hearing this, Lu Xuan had a sad expression on his face, and there was a bit of worry in his tone. So, Dao Lu had better be careful during this period to avoid being invaded by evil cultivators or evil spirits and hurting Dao. Thank you Dao Lei for reminding me, Lu Xuan said sincerely. Lei Zeng was able to come here to remind me, which was not in vain. I trusted him. Chapter 616. 9 Confucian Treasure Tree. Lei Dao, don't worry about me. I went to Zixing Tower and Halao Chamber of Commerce a while ago and bought a lot of high-level spiritual plants and a lot of elixirs to increase spiritual power. With their help, I was lucky enough to break through to the perfect foundation building realm, which gave me a little more self-protection power. Lu Xuan said slowly. With my own cultivation, the protection of the formation, and some high-level talismans, if there is an evil cultivator invading, I should be able to stop him. Dao Lu has broken through to the perfect foundation building? Congratulations. Lei Zeng's spiritual sense swept over Lu Xuan's body and said with a smile. They are all dead cultivations, relying on elixirs to pile up. The hope of further progress can be said to be extremely slim, unlike Lei Dao who can look forward to the great road. Lu Xuan showed a trace of helplessness. Being able to break through to the perfect foundation building, no matter what the method, is already quite good. Dao Lu, don't belittle yourself. Lei Zeng said lightly. If you find any traces of evil cultivators, you can ask me for help through the communication talisman, and I will come to help you as soon as possible. Before, Lu Xuan helped him to go to Qi Wuheng, the star envoy of the Thunder Mars Cave, to solve the abnormality of the Thunder Winged Bird. He was very grateful in his heart. He also saw Lu Xuan's extraordinary ability in spiritual plants and spiritual beasts, and wanted to get to know him. Thank you, fellow Daoist Lei. Fellow Daoist Lei has already entered the perfect stage of foundation building, and is proficient in thunder magic. With your promise, he will definitely not be afraid of any evil cultivator. A trace of just the right joy appeared on Lu Xuan's face. The two chatted for a while. By the way, fellow Daoist Lu, do you still remember the spiritual seed I told you about before? How could I not remember? I have been thinking about it for a long time. Lu Xuan shouted in his heart. I have some impression. Seeing that the fish was about to take the bait, he acted quite patiently and pretended to be indifferent. This spiritual seed is a bit special. Not only is its origin, but the spiritual seed itself is also extremely rare. A trace of hesitation flashed in Lei Zeng's eyes, and then his expression was firm. Has fellow Daoist Lu ever heard of Confucian and Taoist monks? I have heard of them, but they seem to be extremely rare. They pay great attention to the cultivation of qi during their practice. Lu Xuan nodded gently. He had only heard of the existence of Confucian and Taoist monks after he came to Zhongzhou. Monks need to be proficient in various schools of thought, poetry, and articles, and cultivate talent, literary spirit, and righteousness in their bodies. They can control qi to fight against enemies and often appear in the secular world. Among the 7 realms in Zhongzhou, there is a realm called Daxia realm, where literature and Taoism flourish. Most of the monks who practice Confucianism and Taoism gather there, and there are only a few in the other 6 realms. I traveled to Daxia realm many years ago and accidentally got a special spiritual seed, a treasure inherited from a big family. Since I don't know the type of spiritual seed, I naturally don't know how to cultivate it, so I have kept it in my storage bag. Lei Zeng said in a deep voice. The origin of the spiritual seed is extraordinary. He originally wanted to cultivate it by himself, but unfortunately he has not found a way to cultivate it, so he can only put it in the storage bag to eat dust. The reason why he changed his mind now is that he plans to hand over the spiritual seed to Xuan to cultivate it on his behalf. First, he knew that Xuan was an expert in spiritual plants and was trustworthy. Second, the spiritual seed had already shown signs of losing vitality. He had to either sell it as soon as possible or find ways to cultivate it. He didn't want to give the rare spiritual seed that he had worked so hard to obtain to others. After hesitating for a long time, he had to choose to trust Xuan. Do you have the confidence to cultivate it? He turned his head and looked at Xuan, asking solemnly. I may not have confidence in other things, but spiritual plants are different. I have some talent in spiritual plants. Xuan was full of confidence. Lei Dao, please rest assured to give me the spiritual seed. I promise you that I will cultivate it for you. He was very curious about the spiritual seeds of Confucianism and Taoism that Lei Zeng had mentioned, and he couldn't wait to start cultivating them. It's enough to have what you said. Lei Zeng nodded and took out a strange shaped spiritual seed from his storage bag. The spiritual seed was oval in shape, not the size of an egg, and seemed to be entangled with countless black lines of varying depths. A scent of ink escaped and floated into Xuan's nose. Looking closely, those black lines are actually black characters, and the fonts are indefinite and constantly changing, so it is impossible to see them at the first time. Is this the special spirit seed that fellow Daoist Lei mentioned? The moment Xuan saw the spirit seed, he was refreshed, staring at the spirit seed intently, and asked Lei Zeng. Yes, what do you think, fellow Daoist Lu? Lei Zeng was a little nervous at this moment despite his calm personality, and couldn't help asking Xuan. No problem, don't worry, I can definitely cultivate it. Xuan affirmed 3 times in a row. Then I will give the spirit seed to you, fellow Daoist Lu. Hearing Xuan's words, Lei Zeng felt much more at ease. The spirit seed grades and varieties all looked very unusual, and they were of great importance. Therefore, the two made a heart demon oath, mainly to restrain Xuan, who had obtained the spirit seed, so that he would not be tempted by the treasure and take the spirit seed away. Of course, there were also some requirements for Lei Zeng. During the cultivation of the spirit plant, if there were any special growth conditions, he had the obligation to meet them. Xuan naturally would not think of taking it away. Being able to harvest the light ball is already a huge profit. There is no need to go against one's conscience and lower one's credibility. After Lei Zeng took out the spirit seed, he did not stay for long and said goodbye. Xuan watched his figure disappear in the sky full of thunder and light, and could not wait to come to the spiritual field and put the black lettered spirit seed into the spiritual soil. His mind was focused on the spirit seed in the shallow layer of the spiritual soil, and then the information about the spirit seed appeared in his mind. 9 Confucian Treasure Tree, a 6th grade spiritual plant. After the great Confucian sat in meditation, the whole body of literary energy penetrated into the spirit plant, condensing the 9 Confucian Treasure Tree spirit seed. Spiritual plants need to grow in an environment with rich literary energy during their growth. Listen to poems and articles, and Confucian classics. After maturity, the branches, stems, and leaves of the spiritual plants can be used to refine Confucian and Taoist instruments and magic weapons. The condensed spiritual fruit can greatly enhance the literary energy in the body of Confucian and Taoist monks after consumption. With poetry and books in your belly, you will be elegant. Confucian and Taoist spiritual plants. There are actually such spiritual plants in the world. Xuan was amazed and surprised. With his current perfect foundation, it takes great luck to get a 5th grade spiritual seed. It is already a huge surprise to get this 6th grade 9 Confucian treasure tree. Even Lei Zeng probably couldn't guess that the special spiritual seed in his hand is so rare. Xuan couldn't help but sigh. Although the spiritual seeds are precious, he has no intention of greedily taking the spiritual plants. When the spiritual plants mature, there will naturally be a reward, not to mention the white light ball that appears. That is the most valuable existence, which is much more precious than the spiritual plant itself. I thought I was lucky enough to have the 5th grade Buddhist spiritual plant Vajrabodhi, but I didn't expect to get a higher grade and rarer Confucian and Taoist spiritual plant. When Lu Xuan thought of this, he couldn't help but smile and was very happy. Chapter 617. Pulling the tiger skin and raising the banner. However, the problem facing Lu Xuan is that the cultivation of this 6th grade 9 Confucian treasure tree is obviously more difficult. Literary environment, listening to Confucian classics, poetry, and articles. Could it be planted near a cultivation academy? In this way, both conditions can be met. Lu Xuan thought secretly and quickly rejected this idea. Literary environment, maybe we can find a way to get some related treasures. As for Confucian classics, we can hire a Confucian and Taoist monk to come and practice near the 9 Confucian treasure tree. He was not good at practicing Confucian and Taoist techniques. After all, he knew himself well and was not good at studying, so he could only think of other ways. Another 6th grade spiritual plant. It took him a long time to calm down. After collecting spiritual plants for many years, there are only a few 6th grade spiritual plants in the cave, which shows how rare and precious the 6th grade spiritual plants are. Unexpectedly, I got one today in such a muddle, which is really an unexpected surprise. However, there is a destiny in the dark. This 9 Confucian treasure tree is extremely rare. If Lu Xuan had not shown his spiritual plant attainments that have reached the highest level before, he would probably not have attracted Lei Zheng's attention and handed the spiritual seed to him. He hesitated for a moment and finally planted the black-lettered spiritual seed in the Wuling soil. Although it cannot meet its growth conditions for the time being, the pure and rich spiritual soil environment, as well as Lu Xuan's careful care, can still maintain the vitality of the spiritual seed. After planting the 9 Confucian treasure tree, Lu Xuan continued to inspect the spiritual field. The ice firefly grass that had just been planted for a while had taken root and sprouted. There was a blue light flowing on the tender shoots, and the chill could be felt from a distance. A thin layer of frost condensed on the surface of the spiritual soil near the spiritual plant. The frost did not seem to have a solemn and deadly feeling, but instead made the tender shoots of the ice firefly grass more vigorous. Lu Xuan did not dare to neglect these more than 10 ice fireflies. After all, his hope of advancing to the Jiandan stage and improving his cultivation after the Jiandan stage was placed on them. After checking all the spiritual plants in the spiritual field, he returned to the yard. With Lei Zheng's reminder, he planned to stay in the cave for the time being and raise the cave's alert status to the highest level, allowing the Void Nightmare Eye to wander around the area of dozens of miles with the cave as the center. Even the idea of selling the 5th grade treasure in exchange for spiritual stones was aborted. He planned to wait until he broke through to the Jiandan realm before selling the 5th grade treasure that he didn't need much, which would be safer. That day, when he was teasing the fat bird, suddenly, a low voice came from outside the cave. Is Dao Yao in the cave? We are patrolling monks in Xiangxing cave. Lihuaxing cave has not been very peaceful recently. Come and check each cave. Lu Xuan heard the words and hurried out to greet them. As soon as he came out of the cave, he saw 4 monks standing quietly outside the formation. The leader was a young man in black with a steady temperament. Lu Xuan's spiritual sense swept over and immediately found that the young man was in the early stage of Jiandan. The other 3 wore standard armor with many intricate runes painted on them, which was obviously not ordinary. The 3 of them were all perfect in foundation building, standing in a corner, vaguely forming a formation. Hello senior, and hello to the 3 Taoist friends. Lu Xuan bowed respectfully. Dao Yao Lu, right? I'm Shen Mingcheng, and I'm here to lead the 3 Taoist friends to patrol the Thunder Mars cave by the order of the Star Lord. I also ask Dao Yao Lu to do me a favor and let me check it, so that no evil spirits or evil cultivators can invade the cave and pollute the body without knowing it. The calm young man said slowly. Although his tone was polite, there was a hint of unquestionable tone. Seeing Lu Xuan nod in agreement, a grey ancient mirror appeared in his hand. A grey light shot out from the ancient mirror, circled around Lu Xuan's body, and then returned to the mirror in an instant. There is nothing abnormal. Shen Mingcheng said to Lu Xuan. I wonder if fellow Daoist Lu agrees to let us check the cave. Although no evil aura was detected on Lu Xuan, the patrolling monks of Xiangxing cave still wanted to search it carefully for safety. I'm sorry I can't agree. Lu Xuan said firmly. The cave involves some of my secrets, and I don't like people prying into my life, so I hope you can forgive me. Here are a few bottles of jade washing spirit dew. Thank you for your hard work and daily patrol. This spiritual brew tastes good. Envoy Qi Wuheng praised it after tasting it. Lu Xuan sent the jade washing spirit dew to the few people and naturally brought Qi Wuheng out. There were too many high-level spiritual plants and evil spiritual plants that could not see the light in his cave. It would be bad if they were discovered. Does fellow Daoist Lu know senior brother Qi? Sure enough, after hearing what Lu Xuan said, the calm young monk was completely attracted by the name Qi Wuheng. I'm not that familiar with him. I just helped senior Qi Wuheng solve a problem with his spirit beast a while ago. Lu Xuan said with a smile. So the spirit plant master who cured senior brother Qi's thunder wing bird spirit beast is fellow Daoist Lu. The calm young man suddenly realized, and his eyes looking at Lu Xuan immediately became a little more intimate. He had heard about Qi Wuheng's spirit beast and learned that the problem that had troubled the Thunder Mars Cave Star Envoy for a long time had been solved by someone, but he didn't know who it was. Unexpectedly, he ran into the real owner here. Qi Wuheng's cultivation level was one small realm higher than his, and his status was also much more respected. Lu Xuan was able to help a star envoy in the middle stage of the Jianden, so he naturally looked up to him. That spirit beast has been with senior brother for many years, and they have a deep affection for each other. Fellow Daoist Lu can help senior brother solve that problem. I admire it. Lucky luck. Lu Xuan said modestly. Then thank you for the spirit wine given by fellow Daoist Lu. I will take it back and taste it carefully. Shen Mingcheng said with a smile. After accepting the jade washing spirit dew from Lu Xuan and learning from Lu Xuan that he had an unusual relationship with Qi Wuheng, the calm young man did not even think about entering the cave to check. If you find anything unusual, you can ask Shen for help at any time. I will be patrolling this area in the near future. Before leaving, he left a communication talisman for Lu Xuan. Lu Xuan was very grateful and watched Shen Mingcheng and the 3 Xianxing cave guards leave. He returned to the cave only after the 4 figures completely disappeared. Fortunately, I didn't let them come in to check, otherwise they would have found so many high-level spiritual plants in the cave, even those evil spiritual plants, and it would have been difficult to fool them. They might even be tempted by the money. After all, the value of those spiritual plants is really too high. In addition, in the eyes of other cultivators, spiritual plant masters are generally weaker among cultivators of the same level, so the possibility of arousing greed is greater. Lu Xuan sighed secretly. He first bribed a few people with small favors, and then moved on to use Qi Wuheng's envoy to use the tiger skin and pull the banner to get away with entering the cave to check. Chapter 618. The evil spirit is actually me. It seems that the thin monk who just passed by is not the first time to appear near the cave. Lu Xuan glanced at the grey-white pupils that emerged from the palm of his hand and frowned slightly. 10 days have passed since he met Shen Mingcheng and his party. During this period, he has been placing the void nightmare eye outside the cave, and from time to time he uses the vision shared by it to monitor the movements around the cave. He remembered that the short monk who just passed by not long ago was not the first time to appear outside the cave. Every time he passed by the cave several miles away, there must be something wrong when things are abnormal. Is he here to scout the place? He just stepped on a tough guy. He should not have thought that a spiritual plant master has a top grade reconnaissance treasure like the void nightmare eye. Lu Xuan's mouth showed a sneer, and he thought secretly in his heart. He spied on me, but he didn't know that his every move was clearly seen by me. As night fell, a black shadow slowly emerged from the shadows, staring at the cave ahead. A spiritual plant master who occupies such a large cave should be very wealthy. Penki thought secretly in his heart. After hearing that there was an evil spirit causing chaos in the Thunder Mars cave, he was extremely panicked at first, but after not encountering evil spirits and evil cultivators for a long time, he, who had a lot of experience in robbing, suddenly became active. His lease in the Thunder Mars cave was about to expire, and he decided to do a big deal before leaving, robbing a cultivator's cave, and then pretending to be a scene of evil spirits causing chaos, and then leaving silently. As for the occasional patrolling cultivators in the Xianxing cave, it was not a big problem for him. After all, the Thunder Mars cave was vast and there were countless thunder rays raging. The patrol guards could not be all-encompassing, and could only pretend. Therefore, after learning about the patrolling cultivators' patterns of action, he chose the cave where Xuan was. For this reason, he also specifically inquired about Xuan, who was only a spiritual plant master in the late stage of foundation building. There were a large number of spiritual plants in his cave, and he was not good at fighting. He had little contact with the outside world. Even if he died, it would probably take some time for people to notice. Penki himself has a very powerful concealment technique, and with the 4th grade forbidden breaking talisman in his hand, he can easily break the 4th grade and lower formations, enter the cave without being noticed, kill people and steal treasures, and escape thousands of miles away. Thinking of this, he couldn't help licking his lips, and a hint of excitement flashed in his eyes. Then, he came to the edge of the cave silently, and took out a talisman with mysterious patterns from the storage bag. It's a pity that I have to use this precious forbidden breaking talisman. A regretful thought flashed through his mind, and a faint spiritual light appeared on the forbidden breaking talisman in his hand. The formation in front of him changed quietly, and he let the forbidden breaking talisman lead him into the formation. As soon as he entered the formation, he didn't pass through the formation smoothly as he imagined, and a buzzing sound came from his ears. Dozens of golden alien insects rushed towards him at a high speed. Each alien insect had a sharp blade-like horn on its head, and its whole body seemed to be made of pure gold. What kind of formation is this? The forbidden talisman didn't have much effect. He sensed something was wrong, but before he could think about it, many alien insects attacked him from all directions. The alien insects were extremely hard, and even a 4th grade magic weapon could only leave shallow marks. Penki consumed a small amount of his spiritual energy before he managed to kill all the golden alien insects with great effort. Just as he relaxed a little, the spiritual energy in the formation changed, and a group of ferocious and tall tree men emerged from the ground, waving their tentacles like dark blue branches, carrying the smell of soil, and lashing at him fiercely. After that, various phantoms of 5 elements spirit beasts appeared one after another, attacking him in turn. This is a 5th grade formation. Feeling that there was little spiritual energy left in his body, Penki finally realized the horror of the formation in front of him. Dao, I accidentally broke into the formation. I hope you will be magnanimous and let me go. He fell to his knees with a plop. While begging for mercy from the monks, who might be behind the formation, he slowly retreated, intending to escape. Amid the rustling, a strange figure appeared in the distance of the formation. Penki was happy at first, but after seeing the figure clearly, he was horrified. The figure turned out to be a strange-looking straw puppet. It had slender limbs, and a huge head made of grey grass with a large and deformed tumor on top. 4 strange vines were wrapped around its grey-black body, and arrows of different sizes were standing on each vine, making the straw puppet look like a hedgehog. What's your name, fellow Taoist? Penki shrank his head, with a flattering smile on his face, and several talismans quietly slipped out of his sleeves. The straw puppet did not respond, but just stared at the monk with its empty eye sockets. Then, a vine on its arm suddenly stretched straight, and many arrows pointed at Penki. The spiritual power of many arrows was like a meteor passing by, and instantly rushed in front of Penki. He tried to dodge, but the arrows were too fast, and the spiritual power in his body had been completely consumed by the attack of the 5 element spirit beasts. His whole body was instantly pierced by many arrows, like a sieve. A green light flashed from his head, and rushed to the outside of the illusionary 5 element formation at lightning speed. Before he rushed out 10 feet, the green light involuntarily returned to the original path, and entered an evil lantern with a handle of bones and a cover of human skin. The last scene that appeared in Penki's consciousness was a handsome young man slowly walked out of the formation and gently picked up the lantern. Before he had time to beg for mercy, he was annihilated by the endless resentful souls in the lantern, and instantly lost his self-consciousness. Little cultivator, you dare to try to pay attention to my cave, how ridiculous. Xuan picked up the soul guiding lantern naturally, with a smile on his face. A casual cultivator who had completed the foundation building did not need him to take action personally. With the illusionary 5 element formation and the grass puppet that controlled 4 arrow vines, he could easily kill him. Well done. Lu Xuan sent a thought of praise to the grass puppet. Guard the spiritual field. Upon hearing this, the grass puppet held up 4 thick and ferocious arrow vines, and walked back to the spiritual field with ease. Lu Xuan came to the corpse of the monk who invaded the cave, first put away the monk's storage bag, and then very familiarly divided the corpse into pieces. The essence, blood, muscles, bones and the previous soul were all clearly divided, and processed in one go. The corpse of the monk who has completed the foundation building, the evil spirit plants in the spiritual field, are in for a treat. Lu Xuan couldn't help but sigh as he decomposed the corpse. After handling everything, looking at the flesh and blood stains left on the ground, he suddenly felt that the scene in front of him was somewhat familiar. What did fellow Daoist Lei say last time? The evil spirit that invaded the monk's cave was extremely cruel. The whereabouts of the monk's soul are unknown, leaving only some flesh. It's so similar. The evil spirit is actually me? An absurd thought flashed through Lu Xuan's mind. Chapter 619, Red Dust Monument. Although I use other people's flesh and blood souls to cultivate evil spirit plants, I'm still a good cultivator. Lu Xuan said righteously. He brought a pile of flesh and blood skeletons to the underworld spirit field. You guy, you came here because of the smell. As soon as he entered, before he had time to adapt to the bone-piercing cold wind inside, the resentful souls wailed, and Lu Xuan saw the light red big meatball jumping in front of him. He threw the cultivator's flesh and blood to the meat spirit god. The fur on the surface of the meat spirit god's body flew up lightly, revealing a small mouth with many sharp teeth inside, and swallowed all the flesh and blood that turned into a puff of blood mist in one bite. How is it? Fresh enough? Lu Xuan asked the big meatball with a smile. The meat spirit god turned from top to bottom and nodded in agreement. The pink and white pupils that had been staying at the top were squinting, and it can be seen that he was in a very good mood. Seeing that the big meatball was full, Lu Xuan came to the skeleton demon viewing spirit seed. After a period of cultivation, he had used a lot of monster bones to nourish the evil spirit plant. In his spiritual sense, the small ball of white bones quietly opened up and spread around in the deep spiritual soil. It was like a large number of white bone-shaped roots intertwined together, slowly building a skeleton platform. Then, he threw the soul near the Yinku wood and the burning soul flower, letting these 2 evil spirit plants divide the monk's residual soul equally. After a while, except for the storage bag, there was no trace of the monk left in the world. Lu Xuan returned to the house, cracked the restrictions on the storage bag, and took out many things inside. 2 4th grade magic tools, several 3rd grade magic tools, and about 10,000 low grade spirit stones, some elixirs, and some odds and ends. The wealth is very consistent with the identity of a casual cultivator. Lu Xuan chuckled. These magic tools and elixirs were of little use to him. His vision had long been bred by the rare and high-level treasures that opened in the light ball, and he looked down on these ordinary goods. He planned to find an opportunity to sell these things, and he estimated that he could still get a lot of spiritual stones in exchange. The intrusion of this cultivator was just a minor disturbance. For more than a month, the cave and the surrounding area were calm. Only the cultivators from Xiangsing Cave occasionally patrolled by. After knowing the relationship between Lu Xuan and Qi Wuheng, they were very polite and did not deliberately make things difficult. It won't be long before the large auction of Halao Chamber of Commerce. Lu Xuan walked slowly in the spiritual field, thinking in his heart. He had great expectations for the auction. After all, it was held in the territory of Zhongzhou, and was held by the 2nd largest force in Liang realm. It was very likely that high-level rare spiritual species would appear. The fairy peaches are beginning to mature. Because the miasma condensed by the fairy peaches has the nature of aphrodisiac, Lu Xuan placed 10 fairy peaches in the corner of the cave. Come and take care of them occasionally. The pink miasma was like smoke and fog, and the fresh and tender spiritual peaches were looming among the pink and white branches and leaves, half hidden, as if teasing the desires deep in Lu Xuan's heart. He cast a purification spell on himself in a familiar way, pulled out the demon ghost vine that was hiding in the miasma, and threw it away. The demon ghost vine retracted its many tentacles in the air, like a great snake, twisting into the heavy spiritual plants in a few moves. Lu Xuan ignored the demon ghost vine that was indulging in lust all day and examined the fairy peaches hidden in the pink and white branches one by one and finally picked 7 spiritual peaches. 6 ordinary quality, 1 good quality, not bad. He put the spiritual peaches into the gluttonous insect bag, and his eyes were attracted by the 7 white light balls that quietly emerged. The figure passed by like a stream of light, and the 7 light balls exploded silently at almost the same time, turning into countless tiny light points, merging together, and instantly sinking into Lu Xuan's body. Thoughts emerged from his mind. Harvest a 3rd grade fairy peach, and obtain a 4th grade enchanting pill. Harvest a 3rd grade fairy peach, and obtain a 4th grade treasure heart sutra of bliss. Harvest 7 balls of light opened to experience packs of the recipe for the desired pill, and a large amount of information poured into Lu Xuan's mind. He seemed to have experienced refining the desired pill hundreds of times in an instant, and had a more thorough and clear understanding of alchemy, and his alchemy level was raised from the previous proficiency to the level of minor success. In addition, 5 treasures appeared in front of him. 4 desired pills, pink in color, with complex patterns on the surface of the pills. At first glance, the patterns seemed to form a beautiful and graceful body with bumps and curves, gently twisting, which was very tempting. This pill can stimulate the deepest desires in the hearts of cultivators and monsters, making their bodies extremely sensitive and extremely easy to sink into the sea of desire. There was also a piece of light yellow jade silk with many obscene patterns on it, intercourse in various postures, and when the eyes fell on it, the patterns actually moved on their own. It was also a treasure related to the union of yin and yang, the 4th grade heart sutra of bliss. I have the impression that this fairy peach has never opened any serious treasures. Lu Xuan thought helplessly in his heart. I heard that there is a cave in the 18-star caves that is a natural secret place of happiness and joy. It seems that I need to go there. He sighed secretly. Good things happen one after another. 7 fairy peaches are only a few days away from maturity, and another 4th grade spiritual plant is mature. Lu Xuan stood in front of the 7 emotions beans, looking at the strange beans in front of him. In his sight, colorful smoke appeared on the beans, as if it was condensed from the 7 emotions such as joy, anger, worry, and thought. Lu Xuan carefully picked the colorful beans and focused his mind on them. 7 emotions beans, a 4th grade spiritual plant, is nourished and cultivated with the 7 emotions of joy, anger, worry, confusion, fear, and shock. After maturity, it can be used to assist in the practice of the elimination of emotions and destruction of nature. After swallowing it directly, it can enable the cultivator to abandon the desires in his heart, not be disturbed by external objects, and practice without distraction. For some cultivators who are keen on hard practice, it is a good treasure. Lu Xuan said in his heart, and then his attention was attracted by the white light ball that quietly emerged. The ball of light stopped at the top of the spiritual plant, flickering slightly, as if tempting Lu Xuan to touch it. Lu Xuan was naturally not polite, and reached out to gently touch the surface of the ball of light. Countless tiny light spots exploded and merged into a phantom of a stone tablet, rushing into Lu Xuan's body at an extremely fast speed. Or thought then emerged in his mind. Harvest a 4th grade 7 emotions bean, and obtain the 5th grade treasure red dust tablet. The thought flashed through his mind, and a palm-sized stone tablet appeared in front of Lu Xuan. The stone tablet was a light 7 color, with many lifelike little people painted on it. The little people seemed to have vitality, performing scenes of joy and sorrow on the stone tablet. The entire stone tablet seemed to condense countless fireworks. When the mind stayed on it, it seemed to be transformed into a little person on the stone tablet, experiencing their life and death, joy, anger, sorrow, and happiness. This stone tablet is a bit strange. After practicing the Shen Yanjing, and being nourished by the Yun Shintai, Lu Xuan's spiritual consciousness had already become extremely powerful. He immediately realized that something was wrong with his mind, and forced himself to wake up. Chapter 620, The Two-Faced Holy Infant. Lu Xuan's mind was focused on the colorful stone tablet in his hand, and suddenly, detailed information about the stone tablet appeared in his mind. The red dust tablet, a 5th grade treasure, is condensed with the breath of thousands of mortal fireworks. When a cultivator enters it, he can temper his mind, strengthen his spiritual consciousness, and resist the invasion of evil spirits. It is a top-grade treasure for breaking through the Chindan realm. The rolling red dust aura is the most soothing to the heart, a treasure that increases the probability of promotion to the Chindan realm. After learning about the specific effects of the red dust tablet, Xuan was overjoyed. When breaking through the Chindan realm, the cultivator's spiritual power, physical body, soul, spiritual consciousness, and mind must all be perfect. The more perfect, the higher the possibility of breakthrough. An unstable mind may attract evil spirits to attack, and even the cultivator may breed inner demons, which will lead to the failure of promotion, and even life-threatening in serious cases. And this red dust tablet can temper the mind, which makes up for Xuan's biggest defect very well, and can also help him resist the invasion of evil spirits when he is promoted. It is a rare treasure that helps to break through the Chindan realm. In Xuan's opinion, it is much more precious than the holy infant pill he got before. While there is still some distance to the formation of the pill, I can enter the red dust tablet with my mind and temper my will. Xuan thought secretly, and put the colorful stone tablet into the gluttonous insect bag. Seeing that the auction of the Halao Chamber of Commerce was getting closer and closer, Xuan was not anxious at all, and his life was plain and simple. Every day, he was with the spiritual plants and beasts. In his spare time, he practiced some skills, refined some pills, and tempered his mind. As time passed, another underworld spiritual plant was fully mature. Xuan stood in front of a holy infant fruit, and his spiritual consciousness probed into the spiritual fruit in front of him. He could vaguely see a mass of dark blue chaotic matter inside, and something seemed to be gestating inside. Just as he was about to pull it out, his mind was in a trance, and the mass of matter turned into a dark blue baby with a hideous face, and the empty eyes looked at Xuan coldly. A closer look showed that it turned back to its original state. Xuan ignored the changes of the holy infant fruit. When he found that the translucent progress bar below was full, he carefully picked it. The holy infant fruit is a spiritual fruit of the same plant. It is cultivated from the resentment of the soul of an infant child. It can be taken alone, or integrated with the spiritual fruit of the mother plant to enhance its effect. After taking it, it can slightly enhance spiritual awareness, and improve the root bones. It is also the main material for refining the 5th grade holy infant pill. The high quality holy infant fruit is also an excellent material for refining the external incarnation. Unfortunately, the quality of the subplant spiritual fruit is ordinary. Xuan sighed, and put the holy infant fruit away. Then, his attention was completely attracted by the emerging white light ball. With a light touch, the light ball shattered into countless tiny light spots, and poured into his body. Harvest a 5th grade holy infant fruit, and obtain a 5th grade holy infant pill. A black and round pill appeared in his hand. The surface of the pill was covered with dark blue spiritual patterns, which slowly moved like a series of twisted and deformed infant faces. Pure and rich yin energy dissipated, forming wisps of black air around the pill. Holy infant pill, a 5th grade pill, is made from 5th grade holy infant fruit as the main material, supplemented by a large number of infant resentful souls. After taking it, it can slightly increase the probability of breaking through the Dan formation. I got another holy infant pill. Xuan was happy. When the first holy infant fruit plant matured, he harvested a 5th grade holy infant pill from the light ball. However, since it was still a long way from breaking through the Dan formation, he tried every means to transfer it to Jepu, a true disciple of the Xuan sect, at the Xuan treasure meeting, and obtained the 6th grade Yuan sealing Mu spirit seed from him. Now I can consider using this one myself. He thought secretly in his heart. Turning his head, he saw a black shadow flashing by, and entering another subplant of the holy infant fruit plant. It's almost ripe, so why not ripen it, and harvest another light ball? Xuan thought to himself as he looked at the progress bar that was about to be filled. The 2 holy infant fruit plants were planted at the same time, so the time of maturity was not much different. He did it as he thought. A wisp of greenwood source energy emerged from his fingertips, and merged into the holy infant fruit plant. The vitality of the subplant became more and more vigorous. A low laugh of a baby sounded in his ears. In his spiritual sense, the green-black substance inside the spiritual fruit became more and more condensed. He could vaguely see a baby sleeping on its side, like an embryo in the mother's body. When he checked again, the progress bar below was completely filled. Xuan smiled. Although the holy infant fruit was a 5th grade spiritual plant, it was only a little away from maturity, so the greenwood source energy consumed was not much, and a spiritual grass bead could replenish it. He carefully picked the embryo-shaped spiritual fruit, took a quick look, and put it into the gluttonous insect sac. Then, he gently touched the surface of the light ball. Harvest a 5th grade holy infant fruit, obtain the 5th grade treasure, the two-faced holy infant. Or thought flashed through his mind, and then a strange baby appeared in his palm. The baby's body was shriveled, between reality and illusion, and it felt unreal to hold it in his hand. It had 2 faces, one in front and one behind, one holy and flawless, and one hideous and terrifying. It laughed and climbed up along Xuan's arm. Xuan held the baby with his other hand, and the baby's body suddenly became ethereal, turning into black air and dissipating, and then recondensed at the other end of his arm. There's something, but not much. Xuan sneered, and his palm turned into a crystal jade color. His powerful spiritual consciousness directly suppressed the two-faced baby, and his mind was focused on its body. In an instant, detailed information about this two-faced evil baby appeared in his mind. The two-faced holy infant, a 5th grade treasure, was created by a Yuan elder of the Wan sect. He collected a large number of residual souls of infants, and refined them into a special soul body. The soul body has simple intelligence, and can be kept by one side, to cultivate related evil magical powers, or it can be integrated into a high-level puppet, and refined into a magic weapon. Due to the special refining method, the two-faced holy infant has a certain degree of aggressiveness, and is easy to invade the mind of the cultivator. You should be more careful when using it. Special soul body? This is the first time I have obtained such a treasure. Xuan looked at the strange baby pressed by his fingers. Under the shock of his strong body and spiritual consciousness, the baby could not dissipate and condense freely as before, and slowly calmed down. Xuan had long been accustomed to the various strange and bizarre treasures that opened in the light ball. Anyway, for him, if he could use it, he would use it. If he couldn't use it, he would exchange it for spirit seeds, spirit stones, and resources. The rarer and more bizarre it is, the higher the grade of spirit seeds or more spirit stones may be exchanged. The 2 holy infant fruit plants are fully mature. The mother plant has not fused with the daughter plant. It's time to give birth to new daughter spiritual seeds. Xuan glanced at the holy infant fruit mother plant next to him, feeling the hunger it conveyed, and thought to himself, give birth. Give birth to me. After giving birth to a few more, I will let you fuse the daughter spiritual fruits. He painted a big pie for the mother plant that urgently needed to fuse with the daughter plant, to promote its own growth. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 621, Grand Spectacular. For Xuan at present, the positioning of the mother plant of the holy infant fruit is very simple. That is, it is a breeding machine for the spiritual seeds of the holy infant fruit strains. Using its desire for the spiritual fruits of the daughter strains, it will always remain hungry, so that the spiritual seeds of the holy infant fruit strains will be continuously born. When almost all the spiritual fruits are pulled out, the mother plant and the spiritual fruits of the daughter strains collected previously will be ripe. If you miss this opportunity to get the spiritual seeds of the 5th grade daughter strains for free, there will be no next buyer. You should know that the birth of the 5th grade spiritual seeds is extremely tricky, and most of them are born by heaven and earth. Even for giant and cultivators, they are of great value. So I can only ask you to help me produce more spiritual seeds for the time being. Xuan said softly to the mother plant with embryo-like spiritual fruits next to him with a smile on his face. After harvesting 2 holy infant fruit strains, it didn't take long before the news of the auction that Xuan had been looking forward to for a long time came. He was looking forward to it, activated the formation, asked the grass puppet to take good care of the spiritual field, and came to the branch of the Halao Chamber of Commerce in Zixing Tower. As soon as he entered the hall, a beautiful girl led him into a spacious room, where there were already hundreds of cultivators. Lu Xuan's spiritual sense swept over, and found that most of them were in the late foundation building stage or above, and there were 7 or 8 cultivators in the giant stage. This is quite a big scene. There are dozens of cultivators in the late foundation building stage, or above in just one branch. I wonder what a grand scene it will be when they arrive. Lu Xuan thought for a moment, and then understood that capital verification is required to enter the auction. Most of the people in Xiangxing Cave are independent cultivators. With the wealth of ordinary cultivators, they may not be able to pass the first level. Therefore, it is reasonable for so many cultivators with high cultivation to appear. Dao Lu. Suddenly, a familiar voice came from the left side, and a one-eyed middle-aged man came to Lu Xuan's side. It was Liu Oming who had entered the medicine garden with him. Fellow Daoist. Lu Xuan greeted him. Is Dao Lu also going to participate in the auction of the Heilao Chamber of Commerce? Yes, I'm going to join in the fun, and see if I can win 1 or 2 spiritual seeds that I like. Haha, Dao will definitely do as you wish. The one-eyed middle-aged man laughed loudly. Speaking of which, I invited Dao Lu to explore the secret realm of Thunder Sea more than once some time ago. Why didn't I receive a response? He changed the subject, and asked Lu Xuan. Maybe I happened to be away from the cave, or I accidentally ignored the communication talisman. Lu Xuan said casually. However, with my cultivation level, exploring with Dao may cause you trouble. Hahaha, Dao Lu shouldn't say that. After all, we have the experience of exploring the medicine garden together. Dao is superb in swordsmanship. How could it cause trouble? Lu Xuan smiled and said nothing. The so-called trouble is that I'm afraid that you will provoke me and accidentally destroy you, not that you will be dragged down by me. He secretly complained in his heart. The two chatted for a while, and more cultivators entered the house one after another. Dao Mu. He greeted the tall old man who was said to be the descendant of the senior members of the Heilao Chamber of Commerce. It's Dao Lu. It's been a long time since we last met. I wonder how the spiritual plant I gave you to cultivate is doing. The old man saw that it was Lu Xuan, and a smile appeared on his impatient face. It's growing pretty well. I'll let Dao see it when I have a chance. Lu Xuan said truthfully. Then I'm relieved. People are almost here, and we are about to enter the treasure house. I wish Dao Lu can get the treasure he wants. The tall old man bowed to Lu Xuan, and then the room lit up with spiritual light, and countless array patterns swam. Lu Xuan felt his mind was in a trance, and in the chaos, he came to a mysterious starry sky. The starry sky was vast and boundless, and even with Lu Xuan's powerful pupil technique, he couldn't see the end at a glance. In the distance, many large and small meteorites were floating in the starry sky, moving rapidly, and there seemed to be special rules between each other. Lu Xuan saw the cultivator in front of him stepping on an empty meteorite. He had already learned about the auction format and followed suit. His spiritual sense attracted a meteorite and gently dropped it on it. With a thought, the meteorite moved at different speeds and directions according to his thoughts. After experiencing this strange meteorite for a while, Lu Xuan stayed in the corner and quietly observed the many cultivators who appeared in the starry sky. There are at least 2,000 people, all of whom are at the foundation building stage or above. A rough estimate of the giant and cultivators is no less than 300, and even more than 10 are estimated to be in the Yuanying range. Lu Xuan was amazed in his heart, and lamented the grand scale of this auction. There are already so many people who can roughly sense their cultivation, and there must be many hiding in the dark. Dao Lu, do you want me to introduce him to you? That person is a Yuanying elder of the Liang Dao sect. It is said that he has a powerful magical power of hiding the world in his sleeves. Mu Dao Ren came to Lu Xuan's side at some point, stepped on a meteorite of similar size, and transmitted a message to Lu Xuan. That is the Lord of the 100 Birds in the Heavenly Star Cave, who is in the middle stage of the nascent soul realm, and has a 7th grade demon bird under his seat. And that one. Taoist Mu's knowledge of the cultivators present was no less than his ability in appraising treasures, and he introduced the situations of many nascent soul true lords and giant and true lords to Lu Xuan. After a while, the number of cultivators appearing in the starry sky had reached saturation, with only a few meteorites wandering around. Welcome all Taoist friends to participate in the auction held by the Heilao Chamber of Commerce. I'm the host of today's auction. You can call me Xuan Deo Ren. Suddenly, a light curtain 100 feet high lit up in the center of the meteorite, and a middle-aged cultivator with a gentle temperament walked out of the light curtain. The cultivator's aura was as deep as the sea, and he had the cultivation level of the late giant on stage. Please allow me to briefly introduce the rules of this auction to avoid misunderstandings. Where you are, fellow Taoists, is the interior of the treasure building of the Heilao Chamber of Commerce. The treasure building is spiritual, and it can be said that your life and death are all in its control, so please do not overstep the mark here. The auction is divided into 2 sessions, a branch session and a general session. There will be some strange objects collected by the treasure building from all walks of life. If someone can identify them, they will belong to him. There will be multiple branches, held at the same time, mainly divided according to the type of treasures, such as magic tools, exercises, spiritual medicines, etc. The treasures that appear are mainly 4th grade, and there are also 5th grade treasures. The lowest grade of treasures that will appear in the general session is 5th grade, and the highest is 7th grade nascent soul level. There is only one session, which will be held in the last time period, so please pay more attention to it. The meteorite under the seat can be controlled freely, and the information of the treasures to be auctioned will also appear on it. You can go and bid for the treasures you like according to your needs. The highest bidder wins. After 3 bids, if no new price appears, then the deal is done. The gentle middle-aged monk introduced himself to everyone present with great enthusiasm. Well, without further ado, let the auction begin. Chapter 622, The Evil Tree Demon. This auction is quite novel, and it can take care of the 2,000 to 3,000 cultivators present. If the 4th and 5th grade treasures are auctioned one by one, it would be a waste of time. Xuan stood in the middle of the meteorite, secretly sighing in his heart. He naturally specializes in the auction section of spiritual medicine, and spiritual seeds belong to this category. In addition, he will pay attention to magic tools, materials, etc. After all, it is really difficult to serve so many high-level spiritual plants in the spiritual field. If he encounters any resentful soul-type magic tools, or Buddhist magic tools, and materials that can be used, he will also try to auction them off. There is actually a small game. The corners of his mouth rose. If spiritual seeds appear in those unknown objects, wouldn't it be easy for me to get them? Xuan thought secretly. After all, his special ability can be called cause and effect. As long as he plants them, he can get information about spiritual plants, even if the spiritual seeds are rare. And the things taken out by the treasure building of the Heilao Chamber of Commerce are extremely rare, and the grade should not be too low, otherwise it would be a shame for the high-level magic tools rumored. He didn't have to worry about causing any trouble after getting it. There were monks from the Heilao Chamber of Commerce and high-level magic weapons guarding it, and there were prohibitions on the meteorite, so he didn't have to worry about being found by others. While he was thinking, several messages suddenly lit up in front of the meteorite under his feet, which were about several treasures that were about to be auctioned. Xuan took a look and saw a rare 4th grade spiritual plant in the spiritual medicine area. He was not very interested and drove the meteorite to the magic weapon area. Under the light curtain, a cultivator in the early stage of Jinden was introducing to the cultivators who were attracted by the auction treasures. The treasure in front of you is a 5th grade sword pill. It can be directly sacrificed and integrated into the body to improve the sword cultivation. It can also be tempered into a magic weapon with a 5th grade flying sword. The starting price is 30,000 low-grade spirit stones, and each bid must not be less than 1,000 low-grade spirit stones. I can't afford it. Xuan shook his head and looked at the sword pill that was emitting sword light and spinning, and sighed. He once opened a 3rd grade sword pill from the first sword grass, which was later integrated into the 4th grade wind and thunder sword, so he was somewhat curious about this 5th grade sword pill. However, after learning the price, he immediately lost interest. When the 4th grade and 5th grade sword grasses in my spiritual field mature, they will naturally produce treasures better than this sword pill. He heard the endless bidding in his ears and thought with a bit of sourness. Looking around, he saw that there was a 4th grade spiritual seed in the spiritual medicine area, so he controlled the meteor right to the destination. Earth Fire Heart Lotus Spirit Seed. I didn't expect to see it here. After taking a few spiritual medicines, the cultivator in the spiritual medicine area took out a fiery red spiritual seed, and deep red smoke could be vaguely seen flowing inside the spiritual seed. Earth Fire Heart Lotus Spirit Seed, Grade 4, is a unique variety from the eastern wilds. The mature lotus seeds can purify evil auras and reduce the risk of alienation of cultivators. It is extremely effective. The starting price is 3,000 lower grade spirit stones, and each price increase must not be less than 200 lower grade spirit stones. 3,200 spirit stones. Lu Xuan saw the familiar spirit seeds and shouted first. 3,600 spirit stones. 4,000 spirit stones. I'm somewhat interested in this Earth Fire Heart Lotus. Please give me some face. A perfect foundation cultivator who did not hide his appearance and aura spoke out. The auction price quickly rose all the way, and after dozens of breaths, it exceeded 5,000 lower grade spirit stones. Fortunately, several Earth Fire Heart Lotuses have been planted in the spiritual field of the cave, and before leaving the sect, I also got the method of condensing its seeds. Lu Xuan thought secretly. In his mind, this price was already a lot of premium, and it was not worth it for him to spend a lot of money to obtain this spiritual plant that he already had. In the end, the Earth Fire Heart Lotus Spirit Seed was bought by the Perfect Foundation Cultivator at a price of 5,600. The spiritual medicine area mainly showed various mature spiritual medicines, and spiritual seeds were relatively rare. Occasionally, there was a 4th grade spiritual plant, which was not very attractive to Lu Xuan. There were already too many spiritual plants in the spiritual field of the cave, and there were even more than 10 5th grade ones. Lu Xuan cultivated them very hard every day, so he was no longer interested in ordinary 4th grade spiritual plants. After a while, he was refreshed and looked at the giant and monk who was presiding over the auction in the spiritual medicine area, and took out a strange sapling. The sapling was black in color, just a seedling, but the bark was full of deep wrinkles, like an old woman. The prototype of the facial features could be vaguely seen on the tree body, and it seemed to be in a sleeping state. In the spiritual consciousness perception, the sapling exuded a fierce aura, which made the monk's present feel slightly uncomfortable. Ahem. Seeing that everyone was attracted by the strange sapling, the cultivator coughed lightly and introduced it to Lu Xuan and others. This spiritual plant is called the Shamu Tree Demon. It was obtained by a giant and Zenran from a foreign secret realm. It is grade 5. It is said that this variety of spiritual plants is extremely aggressive, not much different from monsters. The Shamu Tree Demon has certain spiritual plants, and it grows like a ferocious demon during its growth. Plus the habits of spiritual plants, hence the name. It can be subdued during the planting process to guard the cave or treasure. The tree heart condensed after maturity is an extremely rare 5th grade treasure that can strengthen the cultivator's body, greatly enhance its body's toughness and recovery ability, and can also assist in the practice of certain special magical powers. The starting price is 10,000 low-grade spirit stones, and each price increase must not be less than 500 spirit stones. Action. Lu Xuan felt hot in his heart as he looked at the strange spiritual plant that was 3 points similar to the human race. A 5th grade spiritual plant, and such a rare species, we must find a way to get it. During the contemplation, many cultivators had already shouted loudly, and in a blink of an eye, the price reached 15,000 low-grade spiritual stones. 16,000. A cultivator in the early giant stage shouted calmly. 16,500. A cultivator who had completed the foundation building stage and was hiding in the shadows hesitated for a moment and shouted. 18,000. The giant and cultivator did not hesitate and raised the price again. 18,500. The cultivator who had completed the foundation building stage hesitated for a little longer. This 5th grade spiritual plant was in line with his cultivation method. If he could get it, it would definitely improve his strength a lot after it matured. Although the price had exceeded his bottom line, he still wanted to struggle again. 20,000. This spiritual seed is what I'm determined to get. If any fellow Taoist wants to fight for it, I will accompany you to the end," the giant and cultivator said confidently. The scene soon fell into a brief silence. After all, spiritual seeds are not as attractive as magic tools, elixirs, and techniques of the same level. They only have a strong appeal to a few cultivators. The price of 20,000 low-grade spiritual stones has exceeded everyone's bottom line, so no one tried to raise the price. 20,000 low-grade spiritual stones once. The auctioneer looked around and saw that no one responded. When he was about to shout again, suddenly, a clear voice came from the corner. 22,000 low-grade spiritual stones. The person who spoke was Xuan. He waited until everyone had almost finished competing before bidding, and raised the price by 2,000 spiritual stones at once, which shows his determination to compete for this 5th grade sapling. Wow, you are really generous. The giant and cultivator thought he had already won the game, but he didn't expect Xuan to show up halfway. He used his spiritual consciousness to spy on the meteorite where Xuan was, but was blocked outside by the restrictions around the meteorite and got nothing. Wow, this evil tree demon is also of some interest to me. Let's compete fairly and let the spiritual stones speak for themselves. Okay. The giant and cultivator was angry. 23,000 spirit stones. Add another 2,000. 25,000. Xuan said calmly. Why do you have to do such a thing that hurts others and does not benefit yourself? 26,000. The giant and cultivator hesitated for a moment and shouted again. This price was already a lot higher for the 5th grade spirit seed, and it would not be worth it if it was more. 28,000. Xuan said calmly. For him, the spirit seed could be accepted, even if the price was higher. After all, a ball of light was worth several times more than the spirit plant itself. Okay, I give up. The giant and cultivator looked at Xuan, who was hiding his face fiercely and couldn't hold his face. The meteorite under his feet flew away at a high speed. 28,000 once. 28,000 twice. 28,000 three times. Deal. Congratulations to this Taoist, the cultivator of the Heilao Chamber of Commerce who presided over the spiritual medicine area, knew that there would be no one who could offer a higher price, so he quickly shouted 3 times to complete the process. A smile appeared on Xuan's face. The 5th grade evil spirit plant, the Shamu tree demon, was successfully obtained. Chapter 623. How do you know the joy of spiritual plants? After the auction of the treasure is completed, the payment can be made on the spot, or the treasure can be obtained by paying the spirit stone after the auction. In order to avoid any more trouble, Xuan chose to get the sapling as soon as possible. He glanced at the auction list flashing under the meteorite, and after seeing that no spirit seeds appeared for a while, he controlled the meteorite and flew behind the light curtain at a high speed. Faintly, he heard a lot of cultivators talking behind him, and they seemed to be very puzzled by Xuan's behavior just now. I don't know where this cultivator came from, but he actually spent 28,000 spirit stones to buy a sapling. There was half puzzlement and half ridicule in the voice. Maybe it's a disciple from a sect or aristocratic family? He doesn't take the spirit stones seriously. It hurts me to see this. 28,000 low-grade spirit stones can almost buy a top-grade 5th grade talisman or elixir. What's the big deal about buying a sapling? A foundation building cultivator buys a 5th grade spirit plant, but it may not be able to successfully cultivate it. It will be a waste of effort. The voice was very small. If Xuan's spiritual awareness was not far superior to that of a perfect foundation building cultivator, he would probably not be able to detect it. Hearing these criticisms, a smile appeared on his face, and he didn't care in his heart. You are not me, how can you know the joy of spirit plants? For others, it is not worth it to buy a seedling with so many spirit stones, but it is different for Xuan. After planting a 5th grade spirit plant, you can know the cultivation method, so you don't have to worry about the possibility of failure. After maturity, you can also harvest a light bowl reward of at least 5th grade, and most likely 6th grade. Even if it is only a 5th grade treasure, its value is far greater than the spirit plant itself. Therefore, the moment he bought this 5th grade evil sapling, he had already made a huge profit. As his thoughts flashed, he came behind the light curtain. There were many cultivators from the Heilao Chamber of Commerce. Lu Xuan casually glanced and found no less than 5 giant Zenran. In addition, there was one person who did not emit a trace of breath, but his keen spiritual sense detected that the person was extremely terrifying. He was most likely a Yuanying Zenjin who was guarding. He looked straight ahead and came to a giant and cultivator in charge of spiritual medicine. "Senior, I'm the cultivator who just bought the seedling of the evil tree demon. Please take out the seedling for me." "Okay." After the auction, the meteorite where Lu Xuan was located had long been remembered by the cultivators present. After confirming that it was correct, he immediately took out the small but very old black sapling. Lu Xuan checked it briefly, took out 280 medium-grade spirit stones, and carried them to the giant and cultivator with his spiritual power. "Please take a look at it, senior." Giant and Zenran glanced at it briefly and nodded, indicating that the number was correct. Seeing this, Lu Xuan took the sapling of the evil tree demon and left the light curtain. "This sapling is too old, isn't it? Is it really a sapling?" He removed the simple restrictions on the sapling and looked at the evil tree demon with a bark like an old woman and couldn't help but sigh. The young sapling seemed to understand the meaning of his words. 2 deep cracks appeared on the trunk and a pair of slender green eyes appeared, staring at Lu Xuan with a fierce look. "Give me a fierce one." Hearing this, the sapling's short black branches on the trunk slapped randomly, hitting the air around Lu Xuan into pieces. Seeing that it seemed angry, Lu Xuan quickly comforted it. "It's okay, think about it from another angle. Although I look a little old, I can withstand the erosion of time. Other spiritual plants may become grey after hundreds of years, but you may still look like this after 1,000 or 10,000 years." The sapling's green eyes turned, and it seemed to think that this was the truth, so it gave up. A trace of greenwood source energy flowed from Lu Xuan's fingertips and penetrated into the trunk of the sapling. Nourished by the greenwood source energy, the sapling suddenly became much more energetic and waved its branches at Lu Xuan in a fake manner, and its facial features gradually disappeared. Lu Xuan's mind was concentrated on its trunk, and after realizing that it was only dormant for a short time, he felt relieved to put it into the gluttonous insect bag. Lu Xuan quietly returned to the spiritual medicine area and continued to participate in the auction. The spiritual medicines that appeared later were varied and magical. Even Lu Xuan, who had read a lot of spiritual plant books, had never heard of many of them, which opened his eyes. However, he keenly noticed that most of these spiritual medicines were born from heaven and earth and were found by monks in various secret realms. Only a small part of them were cultivated by spiritual plant masters. He knew clearly that among the hundreds of arts, spiritual plants were much less popular than refining instruments, refining pills and making talismans. Most monks cultivated spiritual plants just for fun. After all, there were only a few who specialized in spiritual plants like Lu Xuan. Therefore, there were not many monks who could independently cultivate a large number of high-level spiritual plants. In addition, there was basically no method to condense spiritual seeds of the 5th grade and above, so the spiritual seeds that appeared at the auction were mainly 4th grade. He waited for a while, and when he saw that no spiritual seeds he liked appeared, he controlled the meteorite and came to the magic weapon area. The number of monks gathered here was more than 10 times that of the spiritual medicine area, which showed the popularity of magic weapons. Lu Xuan stayed for a while and valued a 4th grade evil magic weapon, which sealed a large number of ghosts, just suitable for cultivating several 5th grade spiritual plants that needed the resentment of ghosts in the underworld spiritual field. The auction price of the magic weapon soared all the way. After shouting a few times, he chose to give up. To him, magic tools are not as good as spirit seeds. As long as the spirit seeds he likes are within his ability, he will definitely get them. As for magic tools, if the premium is too high, he will simply give up. In the end, the Yin magic tool was auctioned off by a giant and evil cultivator at a high price. Lu Xuan didn't take it seriously and continued to search for the treasure he wanted. 25,000 once, 25,000 twice, 25,000 3 times. Deal. Congratulations to this fellow Taoist for obtaining the skeleton of this 5th grade monster giant spirit elephant. Lu Xuan looked at the skeleton that was like a small mountain in front of him with a smile on his face. the demon pill, blood essence and the most valuable elephant horn in this 5th grade monster skeleton have been taken away, leaving only an astonishingly large skeleton. Therefore, he auctioned it off at a price lower than that of a 5th grade spirit seed. The bigger it is, the longer it can cultivate the skeleton demon temple. Xuan thought to himself that with this 5th grade monster skeleton, there was basically no need to worry about the subsequent growth of the skeleton demon temple. In the blink of an eye, half a day had passed, and the auction of various treasures in the branch venue was coming to an end. Xuan only won a 5th grade evil tree demon seedling, and a 5th grade demon beast skeleton. The results were not bad, but he was not very satisfied. The next is the auction. The Halao Chamber of Commerce has been collecting for many years, and has attracted so many Chindan and even Yuanying cultivators. If we can't bring out some good treasures, it will only damage our reputation. Xuan thought secretly in his heart. According to what the cultivator at the beginning said, the treasures that appeared in the general venue were as high as the 7th grade, and there were many 6th grade ones. His expectations were also raised accordingly. Chapter 624 Sitting on the Lotus. My fellow Taoists, I believe you have already won the treasures you want in the various branch venues. However, the fun has just begun. Next, let's start our auction. Enough talk, present the treasures. A ball of precious light flew out from the light curtain and arrived in front of the late Chindan cultivator who presided over the general meeting. The light faded, and a dark book appeared in front of everyone. There was a huge pupil on the cover of the book, which was slightly moving. When the spiritual consciousness fell on it, there was a subtle feeling of being immersed in it. This item is called Heavenly Demon Nightmare Method, which is a low-level magical power related to illusion. After practicing it, you will have mysterious pupil magic power. The starting price is 60,000 low-grade spirit stones, and each bid must not be less than 3,000 low-grade spirit stones. Begin. Low-level magical power, and it is an extremely rare pupil magic power. The Halao Chamber of Commerce has made an extraordinary move at the beginning. After hearing the magical power of Heavenly Demon Nightmare Method, many cultivators surrounding the light curtain were all in an uproar and talked about it. You know, in a behemoth like the Liangdao sect, magical powers are not common treasures, and the Halao Chamber of Commerce opened with the magical power of Heavenly Demon Nightmare Method, which naturally shocked most of the cultivators present. 65,000. 80,000 spirit stones. For a time, all kinds of bidding were heard. Xuan stood quietly on the meteorite, watching the many Chindan cultivators scramble for this low-level magical power with a calm expression. Although he was somewhat interested in it, he knew that he had limited financial resources, and it was a bit difficult to bid for this magical power. He could focus on spiritual seeds or demon beast cubs and fetuses. However, he also had a better understanding of the value of the soul capture blood palm in his hand. After obtaining the soul capture blood palm, because the magical power was quite evil and there might be a risk of alienation after practicing it, he put it together with the blood nerf and waited until he broke through to the Chindan stage before selling it or exchanging it for a high-level spiritual seed. There are still many 5th grade spiritual plants that are gradually maturing in the spiritual field, and even 6th grade phoenix trees that have been cultivated for many years. Xuan is not worried about not getting satisfactory skills or magical powers. In the end, the magical power of Heavenly Demon Nightmare Method was successfully bid for by a cultivator in the middle stage of Chindan for more than 120,000 low-grade spiritual stones. Xuan was secretly shocked and raised the value of soul-catching blood palm in his heart. Next is a 5th grade flying sword. From the gentle middle-aged cultivator took out another blue flying sword with spiritual light. There were cloud-like spiritual patterns on the sword body, and it was as light as a feather in the cultivator's hand. The flying sword is good, but it is slightly inferior to my peacocking sword. Xuan stayed in the distance and secretly compared the advantages and disadvantages of the two flying swords in his heart. Various treasures appeared one after another, making the atmosphere on the field extremely lively. From time to time, cultivators would fight to win a treasure. Okay, the treasure below is a special spiritual seed. The middle-aged monk's voice rang clearly in Xuan's ears. My spiritual seed. It's finally here. Xuan was refreshed and full of fighting spirit. He had already assigned the spiritual seed to his name. The spiritual seed is of the 6th grade, named Sitting Buddha Lotus. It is said that it was born by chance when a Buddha sat on a lotus platform in the Hanging Temple, a sacred place for Buddhism in a foreign land. A lotus seed with Buddha's light appeared in front of everyone. It was many times larger than an ordinary lotus seed, the size of a baby's head, emitting bright yellow Buddha light, giving people a sense of peace and tranquility. Inside the lotus seed, you can vaguely see the shadow of a little monk, sometimes tossing and sometimes sleeping inside, very active. The 6th grade spiritual seed of the Buddha sitting lotus. The starting price is 55,000 low-grade spiritual stones, and each bid must not be less than 2,000 low-grade spiritual stones. Start. 65,000. As soon as the voice fell, a clear voice sounded, and everyone looked in the direction of the voice, only to see a barefoot monk flying out of the crowd of cultivators with a meteorite, looking at the lotus seeds of the Buddha sitting lotus with fiery eyes. The monk was in the early stage of the Jinden stage, and was a well-known casual cultivator in Liang. The moment he saw the Buddha sitting lotus spiritual seed, he immediately had a greedy desire to take it for himself. His intuition told him that once the Buddha sitting lotus was cultivated to maturity, he would benefit infinitely, and might be able to break through to the middle stage of the Jinden stage. 68,000. Soon, another cultivator in the early stage of the Jinden stage raised the price a little. Among the many cultivators present, everyone knew how rare the 6th grade spiritual seed was. Even if they had no habit of cultivating spiritual plants, they tried to bid, hoping to find a bargain for the 6th grade Buddha sitting lotus spiritual seed. The auction price of the spirit seed quickly climbed to 80,000 low-grade spirit stones. After reaching this price, the number of cultivators bidding sharply decreased. After all, although the 6th grade spirit seed is precious, the difficulty of cultivation is also increased accordingly. Even a Jinden Zen dare not guarantee that he can successfully cultivate it. In addition, the maturity period is often dozens or hundreds of years. It is not worth spending too many spirit stones. 83,000 low-grade spirit stones. Xuan shouted when he saw that there were only 2 or 3 competitors. Everyone's spiritual sense swept over and found that the bidder was actually a foundation building perfect cultivator. They were a little surprised. However, due to the prohibition of the high-level magic weapon of the Halao Chamber of Commerce, even a Yuanying Zenjin could not see Xuan's true appearance. 86,000. A cultivator in the middle stage of Jinden shouted lightly on the opposite side. 90,000. I want this spirit seed. The monk said in a firm tone, and raised the auction price by 4,000. Then I'll give it to you, Daoist friend. The mid-stage Jinden cultivator hesitated for a moment, and chose to give up. With 90,000 lower grade spirit stones, he could definitely compete for other 6th grade treasures. 94,000. Before the gentle middle-aged man could remind him, Xuan raised the price by another 4,000 in a relaxed tone. Although he didn't say anything harsh, everyone present could feel his determination. 96,000. Daoist friend, how about giving this spirit seed to me? I will definitely be grateful. The barefoot monk slowed down the price increase and sent a voice message to Xuan not far away. 100,000. Xuan was calm and raised the price by another 4,000. If you miss the 6th grade spirit seed, you don't know when you will get it next time. He was determined and was not affected by the monk's words. Sorry, I also want to get this spirit seed, he replied to the monk. The monk took a deep breath, dispelling his anxiety and depression, and kept thinking in his heart. The foundation building cultivator had already raised the price of the sitting Buddha lotus spirit seed to 100,000 lower grade spirit stones. This price was already a premium for purchasing a spirit seed. More importantly, the other party showed a stronger determination than him. With such a strong fortune, it was estimated that his background was extremely extraordinary, which made him want to use his cultivation to suppress others' disappear. 100,000 once. 100,000 twice. 100,000 3 times. Deal. Congratulations to this Taoist friend. The gentle middle-aged cultivator shouted, and the 6th grade sitting Buddha lotus belonged to Xuan. Sitting Buddha, I wonder if I can sit on Guanyin? A ridiculous thought flashed through Xuan's mind, and infinite joy surged in his heart. Chapter 625, The Spirit of the Weapon. After bidding for the 6th grade lotus seed, Lu Xuan did not pay attention to other treasures. He quietly came behind the light curtain and took the seed from a giant and cultivator from the Halao Chamber of Commerce. I got another rare 6th grade seed. He looked at the cute little monk's phantom inside the seed and laughed. There are only a few 6th grade spiritual plants in the spiritual field, and each one is extremely difficult to obtain. Lu Xuan was very satisfied to be able to add a new variety, and it is a rare spiritual plant related to Buddhism. After getting the seed, he quietly returned to the crowd of cultivators. The auction began to enter the final stage. The last few treasures were all 7th grade, which made the dozen or so Yuanying Zenjin and many Chindan Zenren present scramble for them. Lu Xuan just watched quietly from the side. There were no spirit seeds in several 7th grade treasures. Although he was eager, it was not very strong. Even if it was a 7th grade spirit seed, with the spirit stones he currently had, it would be difficult to compete with those giant and Yuanying cultivators. Unless he took out those 5th and 6th grade treasures on his body as collateral, but Lu Xuan didn't have that idea for the time being. For the sake of his life, he decided to wait until he broke through the giant stage before selling some of the less useful 5th grade treasures. This auction of the Halao Chamber of Commerce was a complete success. The gentle middle-aged cultivator said at last, "Congratulations to all the seniors and fellow Taoists who got the treasures they wanted. As for the fellow Taoists who missed the treasures, don't be disappointed. There will definitely be more and rarer treasures in the next auction, which will definitely allow you to return with a full load. Next, there is a small game. You are all inside the treasure building of the Halao Chamber of Commerce. Although it was not clearly stated, you all know that the Chamber of Commerce's treasure building is a high-level magic weapon and has long nurtured a weapon spirit. The weapon spirit is playful and wants to play a small game with you. If you are interested, you can participate. You may get a rare treasure." The gentle middle-aged voice was heard by all the cultivators present. Then, a beam of precious light shot out from the depths of the starry sky, and in an instant it came to the front of the light curtain. It was a 3-foot-tall little man with a strange shape, with a pointed head. The body gradually became rounder as it went down. At first glance, it looked like a pagoda with smooth lines, giving people a sense of cuteness. But all the cultivators present were respectful, and did not dare to be presumptuous. After all, the little man in front of them was the spirit of a high-level magic weapon. In its body, a few ordinary Yuanying Zenjins might not be its opponent. "Hello senior." First, more than a dozen Yuanying Zenjins, followed by more than 300 Chindan Zenren, and finally many foundation building cultivators, spontaneously greeted the little man in order. "Yes." The little man nodded stiffly with his pointed head, and his 2 short arms were carried behind his back with great effort. "My fellow Taoists are guests. I'm willing to give you 3 rare treasures as a return gift. However, treasures are for those who are destined to get them. It depends on who among you has that destiny." The little man's spirit said slowly with a childish voice, but a somewhat old-fashioned tone. "The rules of the game are very simple. The 3 treasures are all from foreign lands, and are rare in this world. Whoever can identify them will own them. Each person has 1 chance. If a treasure is recognized by all, then the rest will have no chance. If you can recognize it roughly, I will reward you according to the situation. However, there is one thing I have to make clear in advance. If anyone comes to identify without a clue and can't say anything, then be careful that I will punch you." The little pagoda man smiled mischievously. Then, with a wave of his short hand, 3 treasures appeared in front of everyone. A piece of uneven animal skin. The ancient animal skin seemed to be sewn together by many parts, tightly closed, and there seemed to be something hidden inside, constantly changing, and occasionally wailing or roaring could be heard. A fist-sized ore. The ore is extremely magical, and the surface can clearly see the alternation of the 4 seasons. Sometimes the spring rain is continuous, sometimes the sun is blazing, sometimes the autumn wind is bleak, and sometimes the snow is overturned. There is also an egg-sized spiritual seed, filled with black air, and a delicate and extremely ferocious evil ghost is hovering on it. Sure enough, there is a spiritual seed. Lu Xuan was overjoyed. When the spirit of the weapon said that the treasure came from a foreign land, he had such a guess. Those with exotic characteristics and suitable for giving to monks are most likely various special cultivation resources, and spiritual seeds are naturally included. You can observe with spiritual consciousness, or you can experience it a little bit, but if you touch my treasure, and can't tell what it is, I will be angry. The little pagoda man said with a grin, revealing the precious light in his mouth, and I don't know how many treasures are hidden. After the 3 treasures appeared, many monks used their spiritual consciousness to explore, and recalled in their minds, whether they had seen, or heard of similar things somewhere. In less than half a minute, most of the foundation building cultivators chose to give up. These cultivators were either from small families or small sects, or were just casual cultivators. They had relatively shallow knowledge, and could not see any clues at all. If they tried rashly, and could not say anything, they might cause displeasure to the spirit of the weapon, and then the gain would outweigh the loss. The remaining cultivators were all pondering. Among these people, either they had a strong background, and were exposed to a lot of cultivation knowledge since childhood, or they were powerful, and had the ability, to travel around the world, after forming a pill. Maybe they had seen these 3 treasures somewhere. Of course, there were many who had both. It was a pity that the treasures that could be taken out by the spirit of a high-level magic weapon naturally did not have ordinary origins. Even in foreign lands, they were extremely rare. After all, this treasure house naturally loved to collect treasures. How could it be willing to give up the treasures easily? Xuan was sitting on the diorite at this moment. With that special ability, he had absolute confidence in identifying the strange spirit seed that the evil ghost was hovering around, jumping out of the category of 2 types of cultivators. However, in front of so many Yuaning's engine, it is not good to be too much of a show. Slowly, a few giant cultivators showed hesitation on their faces, stepped forward to observe carefully, and sent messages to the pagoda man one after another. After hearing the speculations of the first few people, the pagoda man's pointed head bulged, and punched several giant cultivators out. Xuan was surprised that with the cultivation strength of a giant Zenran, he was repelled by a casual punch of the weapon spirit. Fortunately, the weapon spirit did not take it too seriously. The giant Zenran quickly returned to the crowd. There was no damage on his body, but his face was red, and he looked a little embarrassed. After all, with his strength in the Giandan realm, he is also a great power in the cultivation world. It would be embarrassing to be in the public eye. However, after seeing the few Giandan Zenran who returned behind, his expression immediately relaxed a lot. It is easier to adapt to the embarrassment of a group of people than to be embarrassed by one person. In the end, only one cultivator in the middle stage of the Giandan stage was allowed to stay near the ore. It seemed that he must have guessed some things, but did not identify them all. Otherwise the treasure would have belonged to him. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.